The Joe Rogan Experience.
What the fuck is up, ladies and gentlemen? Thank you very much for joining us. Before we even get started, because our guest is so fucking epic, I have to get the commercial out of the way. Say thank you to the podcast for sponsoring us. If you go to joerogan.net and you click the link and you type in the code name Rogan, you can get 15% off.
The fleshlight, not the podcast.
What did I say? The podcast?
The podcast for
sponsored
sponsoring
by
us.
the podcast? Yeah, I'm fucking giddy today. The podcast is sponsored by the Fleshlight. This is the Fleshlight. Bas Rutten, have you ever seen one of these things before?
No, I've never seen one.
No one has had sex with this. Is clean. You can feel it. It's very. It's amazing. Amazing device. American ingenuity at its best.
Wow. What do? You heat it up in the microwave?
I don't recommend that. I think that could
Wow.
damage your penis.
You know what? Did you see they call it like the jerk off cups? They have like cups in Japan. And you there I swear to God, it has a little like cellular thing on it, you know, so to keep it moist. And there's a little hole in it, and there's actually you can use it and then throw away. My buddy, yeah, we went up to the room. My buddy goes right away. He says, "Man, they're reusable." I say, that was not right. The best was that my other friend, he forgot it in a little paper bag. And there were some porn magazines in the bag also. So when we left up, that was at the Tokyo in Hilton, the Hilton Hotel. We walked up and this little girl goes like, "Sir, you forgot your..." And she looks in there and she looks at my buddy. She's like in shock. And he goes, "Yeah, I know." You know?
So she knows exactly what it is.
Exactly what
it's
it is.
very common in Japan.
There
are a bunch of freaks over there, right?
And they're only this small.
Wow.
Yeah, so the whole
What
cup.
happened? The whole cup. So
The whole
your
cup.
penis can only go in. It's for small penises.
I guess you have to make a hole in the other side.
Yeah. Well, how does that work?
Yeah.
It's not designed for American or Dutch cocks, right? For those who don't know who we're talking to, this is a true mixed martial arts legend, a real pioneer. Bas Rutten was a former UFC heavyweight champion, and when I first saw Bas fight, I saw you fight back before there was any real good striking in mixed martial arts. Mixed martial arts was a lot of it was, you know, karate guys that weren't that good. You know, there was a few people that were just wild and crazy that were getting in there and trying it. And there was Pancrase was going on over in Japan. And a buddy of mine had sent me a tape, and they had said, I forget who gave me the tape, but he goes, "You got to watch this motherfucker, Bas Rutten. Like, it's finally a guy who's over there that knows how to strike." And you were blasting guys. Like in Pancrase, it was a lot of like they had these shin pads on for folks who haven't seen it, and you weren't allowed to punch to the face, but you could use open palms. So what Bas figured out how to do was pull his hand way back. So he was punching with his palm. Where everybody else was doing bitch slaps, Bas was blasting guys with straight right palms and knocking them unconscious. And body kicks that they just couldn't believe how much pain they were in. Yeah. You were one of the first guys from Holland that you know, that hard Dutch style of kickboxing to enter into mixed martial arts.
I used that already palm strikes when I was a bouncer because I didn't like to mess up my fist. So and I always thought you have a way longer reach. Like for instance, a left hook right straight. You know that combination. It's great, but if you connect with the left hook, you're too close for the straight punch. You see, and the longer the punch is, the more power it has. So I said, why don't I hit with the palm? You know, because then it becomes almost as long as my straight punch. So the straight will have more effect. You know, and then people started thinking, I said, if you hit behind the ear, if you can see when I'm fighting, I'm hitting right here, just behind the ear at the jaw, where the jaw starts. And if you tap it there, yeah, you'll drop.
Well, you're one of those guys, too. You analyze different ways to attack opponents, and that's why you've got all these videos online of self-defense techniques in bars. If you haven't seen these videos, have you seen them,
The
Ryan?
music video one is the one I love.
Fucking
the most.
fantastic. No, sorry, I'm not sorry. Bang, bang, bang.
Oh, looky, look what we got here.
Well, how did that get started? How did you start doing those?
It was the funniest thing. I made the big Bas Rutten's Big Books of Combat.
Yeah, I have that.
And then I promised that the first 300 people were going to get a self-defense book, a small book, like 50-page book or something. But then this guy screwed me over with the books. And when that all happened, you know, I left this guy, but I came back to him. I said, listen, I told the people that the first 300 were going to get it, and I want to keep my word. But I don't want to do anything with this guy anymore because, you know, it took too much from me already. So
Right.
anyway, we said, why don't I make a video? We do an instructional DVD, and then we give that to the first 300 people.
Oh, that's great.
I said, what do you want to do? I said, well, get the camera. It was like totally non-scripted, you know, when we started at the bar. How funny was that, you know, that I go around the bar and I see a little, what do you call it, a saucer or something. I said, okay, well, this you can throw at him to distract. You can break it. Now it's got sharp edges. You can slice him, you know. And then when I go to that thing that holds the receipt, you know, that pin, I grab it and I look at the thing and I go, I don't need to tell you what you can do with this. It was the funniest. We had to stop so many times that we were dying laughing.
And that's all one take, no preparation.
Nothing.
Well, see, you don't have to worry about things. You think like that all the time.
Yeah.
And being a bouncer, that is one. I've never been a bouncer, but I did. Well, I actually did work as a bouncer at a concert place at Great Woods. It was a concert center, and there was a lot of fights. You're constantly dealing with fights, but that's different than a bar because a bar is more dangerous, it's more contained. A concert place is big and wide open. It was an outdoor venue.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you're at a bar, you must have seen a lot of shit, especially in Holland. Holland's a fucking crazy place.
It is. It is a crazy place. You have to watch out. And, you know, I wasn't in that era that they really started to come with the weapons. I was always fortunate, you know, to... the big guys would come in and they would actually give their guns to us. You know, we put them to the side. And when
Guys
something
would come in with their guns.
Oh yeah, and we stored them for them before they went in. And
Holy shit!
Yeah, it was crazy. You know, I had one guy. It was high up. That was actually cool because I worked there only for like 2 weeks. It was a big place, the Galaxy in 's-Hertogenbosch, and a very known place. It's a big place. I had some epic fights there, man. Really cool. And this guy walks in anyway. Something broke out, and right away the big guy, the guy who was on the top of the ladder, he grabbed me from the front and he bear hugged me, and he says, "We're just gonna stand like this." And I said, "Whoa!" He says, "I just want to take the worst one, the most dangerous one. I just want to hold you like this." So that was kind of a compliment because all the other bouncers heard it, and they go like, "Who's this guy?" You know, and then the world starts to travel. You know how it goes.
So Holland, the fights that happen in Holland in bars, it seems to happen a lot with MMA guys. I know you've been in a bunch of them. Alistair Overeem fucked up his hand. Badr Hari got in a big one. You know, it's just constantly. Kickboxers and MMA guys are always getting in bar fights in
It's
Holland.
the bouncers. The bouncers really think that they can do something. And I don't know why. Maybe it is because they got more of them and they think, you know...
So they give you shit. They want to
They
test
give you
themselves
shit.
because they know
try
who
to
you
test
are.
It's all, yeah.
Do you find that because of you have such a reputation, do you find that like guys get drunk and then they want to test themselves with you? Does that happen?
I had that till that whole bar fight in Sweden happened. And after that, for some reason, I never had it anymore.
And what was the bar fight in Sweden? Because that was very famous. Like that was all over the internet. What happened with that?
Well, I walked in.
And what year was this?
Oh, God, I don't know. It was like 96 or 7.
So you weren't the UFC champion then. What year did you win the UFC? Was it 99?
99, I think, yeah.
So, but they, you know,
They
people knew
recognized
about
me.
you from kickboxing and from MMA. You were already famous in the MMA world and the, you know, the
Oh yeah. I was there for a seminar. People knew me, you know, and the bouncers right away when I came in, they say, "Hey, Rutten, stay calm tonight." And there was a little alarm bell going off in my mind. You know, maybe I shouldn't go in, but I go. I was drunk already. Why not, right? So I go in with my buddy, crazy friend from Holland, not a house, and sure enough, they started. They suddenly asked me because I'm jumping around and having fun. You know, hey, what's up, everybody? You know, I mean, man, I tried to make friends with everybody. Tried to speak Swedish, you know, and they say, "Can you come with us?" So we go to these two doors, through these two doors, and there's a big fire stairs, like a marble stairs, giant. And he says, "Well, we want you to leave." I said, "Why?" I said, "Well, you're too much energy. You're flopping around. It's not good. You're bothering the customers." I said, "Sure, okay. But can you tell my friend, my buddy's over here. He's also from Holland. Can you tell him that I'm gone? Because otherwise, you know, he can't find me." So they didn't expect that. They thought I was going to do something, of course. So he pushes me. And I said, "Now, why would you push me?" I said, "I want to go. It's okay, you know. I don't want any trouble." And he started putting his finger on my chest, which is something I really can't stand, right? So I said, "Okay, don't touch me, because if you do that again, it's going to go wrong. And sure enough, they were looking for a fight, of course. He did it again, so I pushed him. And another guy behind him jumped over him, and he stabbed a finger in my eye. I said, guys, come on, let's stop this right now. I don't want to boop my other eye. And there I went, boom. And that guy went down. He went down like one punch. I've never seen anything. I heard him over the music. I heard that. Yeah, that was the wildest thing ever. And then they had these little microphones, right? So I don't know, but fast. It was 4 or 5 guys. And they start fighting. And the guy that I knocked out constantly, because he would wake up, right? And everything went good. But then I start realizing, wait a minute. These guys are going to come back up all the time, This is going to come to an end. I got to get the hell out of here.
So you're knocking them down. So you're hitting them. They're falling down. Everyone that's coming at you, you're knocking down. But you're realizing you got to get out of here.
I had to get out of there. And there's one part until this day, I have no clue what this was. I'm falling against the wall, and there's a hole in the wall, with a little bar in front of it, and there's broomsticks, but no brooms on broomsticks, just. So I'm grabbing one, but right away when I grab one, I think to myself, I say, if I grab one, they're going to grab one. So I leave it. And I go, but they passed it, and they all took a freaking broomstick.
Oh, no.
And I go, So
now you're fighting 5 guys
wild.
with broomsticks.
It was wild. And then I had to get the hell out of there. So I went all the way down. And I remember till this day, it was a door that, one of these copper things that you have to push in, and then you open up. So I click, and it's closed. And I'm okay. Yeah, now what? So I turned around, and I thought, okay, now I'm going to go only for the eyes. I'm going to hit him in the throat. I'm going to kick him in the balls. That's the only thing I'm going to go for now. And they looked at me, and they all stepped back. So I go, whoa, they can see I mean business, right? But behind me is the whole police force outside because there were windows. So they throw me in jail. And because apparently one of those bouncers was a cop. And I knocked him out, of course, also. But he never told me that he was a cop. Otherwise, I wouldn't have done that. Anyway, we're there. And this is actually a funny story. Because before this all happened, I'm talking to my wife. And I'm already tanked, right? And she says, why are you laughing? Why you have so much fun? I said, honey, I'm drunk. I'm having a lot of fun. She says, no, you're there with 2 Swedish blonde girls, huh? I said, honey, don't worry about it. You know me. If I'm drunk, I don't care about anything. Especially not that. I just want to have fun. So after 2 days, they allowed me to give my first phone call. And I'm calling my wife, and she's freaking out. I said, honey, you got to be, okay, relax. I say, I got some good and some bad news. What do you want to hear first? She says, the good news. I say, I didn't fuck 2 Swedish girls. She says the bad news that I'm in jail. You think this is fun? She's going to hate me for this story because every time she says, you should tell us. It's not funny. I think that's a hell of a story. I love that. Right? You can't write
like a
it.
movie.
No, true story.
That's an outstanding story. So how did you get out of the country? What happened?
You know what? I asked them if they pressed charges, and they said no. So I said, okay, I'm not going to press charges either. But apparently they did press charges. And then I had to go to court. So I get this lawyer. No, and also, they drive me from the normal police station to jail, right? This is like a movie, Joe. You drive into a mountain, and the road stops in the middle of a mountain. And you get out, there's an elevator, or like 2 elevators, I don't know, but I go in the elevator, I go like 4 stories up, I go out, take another elevator, go like 2 down, go out, take another elevator, go like 6 up, I go, oh my God, where am I, It was some weird jail I was sitting there with like murderers and rapists, it was the wildest thing ever, but all the guards knew me, so I had a VCR, I had coffee, cookies. I was playing cards with the guards. They actually gave me my phone. They said, "Oh, cool," Yeah, it was nice. So then the lawyer comes. The lawyer goes. I say, "Okay, so when can I go?" And he said, "Well, you're probably going to get like 6 to 9 months." I said, "Well, back up now." I said, "What?" He says, "Yeah, one of them was a cop." I said, "You're kidding." I said, "But they started." He said, "Well, they're 5 against 1. You can't say anything." So anyway, it went to court, and then my friends, some friends in Sweden, they talked. Apparently, they talked to those guys, and I said, "Man, come on, take your charges back." And that's what they did. And then they let me go.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So you got lucky.
Can you imagine 6 months? Ooh. Yeah, that was weird, man. That was like a movie, like that movie with the guy from Highlander. Remember, he made a movie one time in a jail somewhere really weird. Remember that?
The jail was in a mountain. That's
It
crazy.
was in a freaking mountain.
That's crazy.
And then was when you had to they let you out, to go your 1 hour a day. It was like a circle, and it was divided like a pie, like an 8, and but with a fence, like a UFC fence, like that in 8. So you have a piece of pie, let's say, that space to yourself from here to you to the wall there.
Wow. And then there's another guy right next to you that has a piece, and you're not interacting with them. You're not in the same jail as them. You're not in the same cage as them.
No, not in the same cage. Everybody had his own room. Yeah.
How weird.
That was wild. Yeah, scary stuff. Because it's funny now, but at that moment it's really not
Sweden,
funny.
this is where it happened in Sweden?
In Sweden, yeah.
This is the place where all this shit is going down with WikiLeaks, where they're trying to put that guy in jail for rape because he had sex with a girl and the condom broke and he didn't tell her. Sweden is a strange place, and they take like violence and crime very, very seriously over there.
They had, the suicide rate is the highest in the world there.
Really?
Yeah. Japan is 2, but Sweden is 1.
Wow.
Why is that?
Why Sweden? The chicks are so hot.
Yeah.
That seems like that would cut back a lot.
You know what actually?
Yeah,
Brazil. Who's killing themselves in Brazil? The girls are so hot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like
the flight over. That was a funny story too, because I got my crazy friend from Holland, right? So we get tanked on the plane, and he says, I got to go to the restroom, and I said, well, go, But he sits here. The aisle is next to me, and he sits on the other side. He said, well, but they just turned the light on because we're landing. I said, what are they going to do? They're going to stop the plane? I said, go, take a leak, man. So he goes up, and he's like walking up, because we're going down. He goes to the restroom, and people complaining, and finally he comes back, and he wants to get in. This is before 911, okay? He wants to get in. I say, no, you can't go in. And I look to the front, and I see the pilot there. This is a true story, Joe. I swear this. And the pilot, and the door is open. I say, I let you in if you go to the front and touch the pilot's head. And he says, okay.
Oh,
so we start walking down, like this.
Oh, no.
And he put his hand on his head. And people like, you can't do this, but not as bad. So, and for some reason, they let us into the country.
Wow.
Yeah, that was the one. Can you imagine that happens now?
No.
What are they going to do? They're going to shoot you.
You've been shot.
If you won't shut your cell phone off, they'll put you in jail.
Yeah.
Yeah, they'll turn the plane right around and you go to jail now. Wow. So this is, you say 96, 97?
Yeah, around that time, I think.
I remember when you could get on a plane with just, you have to have a driver's license. That's all you had to have. You know what? You didn't even have to have a driver's license. I remember when you can get on a plane with nothing.
Yeah.
You just go on with a ticket.
Wow.
That's what I meant. When I used to compete, when I was doing Taekwondo tournaments, we would fly. I had a ticket.
Wow.
I didn't have a driver's license.
They told me to Canada for a long time. You could go with your driver's license too, right?
To Canada, yeah. To Canada and to Mexico. But then the United States started being douchebags about it, and they would cut back on Mexicans and Canadians coming over here, and so they made it more difficult, and so Canada and Mexico made it more difficult too. But yeah, when I first used to go to Montreal, when I used to do the comedy festival up there, I didn't have a passport.
You got trouble at the border there all the time?
No,
in
never.
Canada?
Never.
For some reason, they always get me out. I have no clue why that is.
Me too.
I have no clue.
It's your record. They find your record. I mean, if you have a assault, like what happened in Sweden, but what happened in Sweden?
No, that was not, because they went to court and they threw it out.
Doesn't matter. The fact that you got arrested and you went to court and all that, and you were in a jail for a little bit, even if there's no charges that stick, they still have that on your record. Like Eddie Bravo got arrested once for legally having a gun. He got pulled over for a traffic violation. This is when he was working for a check cashing company, and he used to carry around a big bag of cash with him, and he had to carry a gun with him. And it was totally legal, but he had done something like not stopping at a stop sign or something like that. So they pull him over, and he said, I just want to let you know I have a gun, a loaded gun in the car because I do this. They arrested him. They released him because, it was all correct. They check his paperwork. It's all good. Doesn't matter. Every time he goes to Canada, every single time, he gets pulled aside and they check his shit and they ask him questions, and it takes like an extra hour and a half. I got stuck with him the last time I went to Canada.
It's annoying. It's really annoying.
Yeah, and he had no record. I mean, he did nothing. And never stuck as a record, but just the fact that he was even arrested.
Yeah. Yeah, I had this big roided guy one time standing there all messed up, and he goes, get any roids in the bag? Swear to God. I look at him and I say, roids is for faggots, man.
That's what you said?
Yeah, straight in the eye.
Oh, that's funny. What did
that
he
was
say?
good. Yeah, and I did that same line, or nothing. I did that same line twice, also in America.
Really?
Same thing. I came back from Japan. Could be the same guy. Same thing. He said, "You got any roids?" I mean, Why do they ask me? Did they ever ask you?
They always
If
ask
they're
me.
roids?
They always ask me.
Brian's on.
Yeah,
roids.
but you, you know, but come on.
He's on
Tap
roids
out
just to
shirt.
be a man. If he wasn't on roids, he'd be a girl.
Who asked that?
Yeah, that's
Got any roids in the bag?
the funny thing is you could say that roids are for faggots, and he won't say anything because no guy on roids ever wants to admit they're on roids.
Yeah,
even the
that's
biggest fucking, most gigantic, ridiculous human beings ever. They're like, oh, I'm just doing a lot of creatine. I do powerlifting. I eat 6 meals a
6
day.
meals a day. How much pork? What was that the guy took? That Soromski's? No, not Soromski's. The strongest man. Puchinowski.
Pujanowski?
They were saying that he ate
Candy and bacon.
12 pound of bacon or
Yeah,
something
some
like
silly.
a day something.
Yeah.
He turned purple.
Yeah.
Did you see that guy?
Yeah, when he fought Tim Sylvia. Yeah.
He got purple, like the weirdest color.
Yeah, it's not good.
Bacon.
Yeah, your body's not supposed to look like that. It's
No.
not supposed to. That is not a fighter's build. You know, when you see these guys, like there's guys in the UFC, a lot of times in their first couple fights, you'll see them, they come in, they're just too big, and it looks good, and it might be good for the first 30 or 40 seconds. You know,
That's it.
You could really gorilla fuck a guy for 30 or 40 seconds, but then that lactic acid builds up, and boom,
crashing. Yeah, I always said it. I never cared about it. I never cared if somebody said, "Oh, he's on roids." I say, to me, it is that you're insecure already. You know, there's something wrong with you because you're not happy with yourself. Let's go to that. And that bullshit thing that they say, but everybody does it. I mean, it's insane. I did this for the amateurs. They, did the camo. I'm on the board of the camo.
Right.
And they asked me to go and
Camo is for people who don't know, the California Amateur Mixed Martial Arts Organization.
Yep. And they asked me to speak to the guys, to help them out in the future once they turn pro, what to watch out for. And then the most important thing. What is the most important thing, they said? I said, well, don't do roids. I mean, if you already did roids or are thinking about doing roids, I mean, you might as well stop your career, because in this particular stage, right now, if you're already thinking about it, you're going to fail. You're going to be a loser because you want roids. I never got that. And how dangerous is it? You know what I hear, the EPO, people doing that. I go, man, doesn't that make your blood really thick? Right?
It's very dangerous and very common, by the way.
Yeah.
Boxers have been caught with it. Sugar Shane Mosley got caught with it. EPO is what they always accuse cyclists of using. And I had a friend who was a professional cyclist, and he was on it. And he said that when he was on a tour, they were on a tour they would ride on a bus, and then they would, they compete in these tournaments, in these races rather, and you would hear guys in the middle of the night unrack their bikes and go ride. They had to.
Yeah, the
because
heart
it
rate
builds
goes
up.
too down or something.
Well,
and they
you
can die.
have too much blood. Too much blood builds up in your body, because what EPO simulates is it's like artificial altitude. Like the same effect that happens at altitude, where your blood thickens because you need more oxygen because it's a low oxygen environment. So these guys, when they take this EPO, they have to exercise.
Wow.
Like they'll wake up at like 3 o'clock in the morning, and they're like, their parts all fucked up, and they got to get on the bike and go.
Yeah, otherwise you can have a heart attack or something.
Yeah, you could have strokes. It's very dangerous. I know mixed martial arts guys that have done it, and I know guys that have done it that their trainer found out like after the fight, and they were like, "What the fuck, man? You got to let us know that you're doing this, so that if you get knocked out, we can tell the doctor, hey, here's something you should consider. This guy's on fucking EPO."
Use a pen as a syringe. You need a valve like this because it's so thick.
Yeah, it's coming out like lava.
It doesn't get out. I was talking to John McCarthy, and I said, "You know what the new?" Oh no, he asked me. He says, "You know what the newest drug is, like for fighting?" I said, Viagra. And he goes, "How do you know that?" I say, "I read an article about it like a week before that, and apparently guys are doing that, taking Viagra, and apparently Viagra is one of these wonder things. It's really good for your kidneys, for blood pressure. I read an article in
Yeah, that's why I take
in
it.
some fitness fitness magazine, and it was like raving about it. It's a real good medicine apparently, but can you imagine?
Well, what it does is it increases your nitric oxide, and all those supplements that people take, nitric burn, all these different nitric flood, all these different things. It does the exact same thing. Increases your nitric oxide. That's why your dick gets hard so quick. Your muscles fucking flare
And
up.
veins get big. Start pumping.
Definitely.
Yeah, until it goes to the ground, then it'll be uncomfortable.
That's what I'm saying. What do you do?
As long as you keep your cup in
A
place.
little tickle.
Depends on if you have a dick that could fit into one of those Japanese masturbation cups. Some people might not even ever know.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was funny.
You're one of the guys you're one of the few guys that has gone through a mixed martial arts career and has successfully transitioned to a broadcasting career. I mean, you're very smart in how you handled it, because first of all, you didn't take too many fights. You didn't go with your ego and have fights after you were busy with other things or weren't fully concentrated on it. You stepped away in full health.
Yep.
You know, how did you manage to do that?
Not full health. Not full health. My knees were very bothering me, and one of the worst things that I have is tendonitis in both of my arms.
Yeah.
And if that starts, then it's you.
Did you take fish oil at all?
Did you? Yeah.
Helps.
Did you ever? You have ever had tendonitis?
Yes. Yeah, I have. Yeah.
Okay. Now I have it both here in the arms upstairs, and if it hits, it's about a 45-minute hour. A pain which is unimaginable. It's
really?
like, you have no clue. It's like coming from the outside. It's like you can't describe it. There's no pain like it, and there's nothing you can do. You can't take pain pills for it. Nothing.
Wow.
And if the writer, I would lose weight. You know. So when I made that comeback in 2006, 6 weeks before it hit it. You know, I had 9 weeks to prepare. I think 3 times 5 days I took off. That I literally only worked my legs, and because I had the tendonitis. And then, because you lose weight from the pain. And then I start realizing, okay, this is the reason that I stopped, because it's not fun anymore. You know, you're on the ground, everything hurts. I was rolling with, in Eddie's class, and with Goliath. You remember the big guy there? And I was going to fight Leopoldo. And
Chemo Leopoldo.
And he very much looks like him, like built.
Right.
So, man, can I roll with you? Because I need to just get up and just strike. Get up and strike. And I had the tendonitis, and everything was hurting. And I could see everybody look like, oh, is this Bas Rutten? You know? So I go, okay, man, please give me a number, you know? So I got his number, and 5 days later, I said, and I took 5 days off, so I come back again. And he was like, whoa, what's going on now? Because it's a whole different ball game. But so that means that every time when you train with that, it's so much pain that, you lose weight, you can't eat, you know, you get tears in your eyes from the pain. It's bizarre.
And so what exactly is tendonitis? What is it from?
I have no clue. And you know what? I realized that because in the early days, when I did track and field, I already had it there. I think that it comes from all the cortisones that I took. I was a very sick kid. Bad asthma, bad eczema everywhere, and they gave me a lot of cortisones. You know, they always were afraid something was going to happen in the end, and that has an effect, I hear, on your skeleton. You know, it melts, they say. But I guess if it
could have an effect
on your tendons, right?
Wow, that's crazy. So you were a sick kid, and you transitioned somehow into a martial arts champion.
Wow, right?
Did you start training really hard because of your sickness, because of your asthma? Is that one of the reasons?
Yeah, I got bullied a lot. I was a very lonely kid. I was in the trees. I had a really cool skill. I could climb in a tree in the forest, and I could, like, 45% of the forest, I go from treetop to treetop. I would start swinging, yeah.
What?
And go to the next one, yeah. So if they would follow me, if they would come after me,
Tarzan.
I'm freaking, yeah.
Holy shit!
And I climbed in a tree.
So they would go after you, and you would jump from tree to tree like a monkey to get away from them.
That's what I did, and a few of them fell. You know, one was almost didn't make it. You know, I mean, his head fell like next to a rock, but that scared everybody so much that was my harbor. That was my safe harbor. You know, every time something happens, I just climbed a tree, and it was it. But I think that's where I got my athleticism from, just climbing all the time. Yeah.
Wow.
That's fucking crazy. It's amazing how many mixed martial artists were bullied. You know, I mean, people look at a guy like you and they would go, well, there's no fucking way this guy was ever bullied.
Yeah.
It's amazing how much of that happens. And what the fuck? I mean, how do you stop that shit from happening in school? I know you're involved in a lot of anti-bullying programs, and I've seen you do, you know, public service announcements and stuff like that. How do you stop that in school?
You can't. You know, and it's hard. You have to make sure that the whole school knows. Like I would do. How do you say that? And I would tell if I would speak in front of those people, that the bullies, that we gotta have sympathy for those guys. I mean, because obviously something's wrong with them. They only can team up, you know, to get somebody, and they pick the weakest guy. I mean, seriously, if you guys think this is cool, that's the biggest loser of the whole school.
It's
and I think
weird human nature thing. Though,
it really is. It's like you probably got beat at home, you know.
Yeah.
And if you start talking like that, hopefully it rings a bell with the bully, because otherwise you can't stop this.
You know, you hear every now and then about guys who are fighters who are bullies, you know, who you hear about bullying in the gym. Guys who are really good fucking other guys up, like young guys. Like you hear that a lot about Hector Lombard. You know, I don't know if it's true, but you hear a lot of stories about him beating the shit out of young guys and hurting people.
Yeah.
You know, and you know that has to be something from their childhood. It just has to.
Something happened there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's scary stuff.
But you would think that a guy who's a trained fighter, though, you would think, well, like that would be my solution. Like, how do you get bullying out of the schools? I really think you should teach kids how to fight. I don't think they should have to fight, but I think, you know, offer it in physical education. Offer it, because for a man, it's one of the most important things you could ever learn for developing your character, for being more confident, and getting out aggression so you can think things more clearly.
We had KTLA this morning at the gym, and it was I was Frank Shamrock.
Your gym, by the way, for people who don't know, you have a great gym in Thousand Oaks. And how do people get there? What's the name of it?
It's Bas Rutten's Elite MMA. It's on 8080 Hampshire Road
in Thousand Oaks. This is a rare opportunity if you live in this area to train with, you know, a true legend and a pioneer.
And I'm every day there. I'm teaching every day, so it's not like my name is on the gym and I'm not there. I don't like this. You know, and
so KTLA was at your gym.
KTLA was at the gym. Frank Shamrock was at the gym. My friend Holt McKellen, the guy from Lights Out, the new TV show on FX, great show. And
it's a boxing show.
Yeah. He's an ex-heavyweight champion, you know, and now he's got to cope with all the problems. You know, the money is gone, and it's got a little bit Sopranos meets Rocky meets, you know, like serious like that. And yeah, all of us were bullied also. Frank also was a little fat kid, he said. And then he also, because he went to boarding school in Scotland, his father sent him over there. He was the only American there, so that went wrong. And with me also, it's, because of the eczema and of my asthma. You know,
you had asthma and eczema.
Yeah, they went hand in hand together.
How did they cure that? How did they fix that?
I grew over it. And you know what the weirdest thing is? When I stepped into the States, when I was fighting in Pancrase, if you see some fights, you know, you'll see I still have spots. You know, and when I came into America, I think within a month, everything, I mean, you saw it almost disappearing, like, was gone. I think also the climate maybe has something to do with
California climate.
Yeah, I love it here, man. This is actually, it's not too hot, not too dry. You know, it's perfect.
It's a pretty good place to live.
Yeah, we just said it, right? What a day.
It's pretty awesome when you hear about people in Minnesota freezing their dicks off.
Like I said, I came into the States, I said, why doesn't everybody in America live here? Why would you live
Seems
over
like they
there?
do, though.
Yeah.
There's no houses.
Yeah, there's a lot of people living there, man.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people. So you didn't exactly transition out without any pain. That was one of the reasons why you cut your fighting career short.
Yeah.
Was the tendonitis.
Yep. That and my knees. I have no cartilage on my kneecaps.
Really?
Which sounds as a very easy thing to fix, but in reality, it's the worst problem a knee can have. I mean, cartilage in between the knees when it bounces, they can do something about that, you know. But cartilage on the kneecap, they can't.
My friend has his knees resurfaced. He had them resurfaced with steel. They put some sort of a steel or titanium plate over the knee. My friend Steve was on the U.S. ski team back in the 80s, and he fucked his knees up really, really bad. Like, he's had, I believe, 16 or 17 surgeries on his knees, and they're mangled. And they just recently put artificial meniscus in place, this, like, white padded stuff in between the knees.
And
but his cartilage is so chewed up that they actually resurfaced it with metal. So he has it's a crazy looking thing, man. It's like metal, like on top of kneecap. I have it here somewhere in my email. I'll find it for you before we leave tonight, so you can check it out. But so there is a solution that my friend Steve.
You know, it's hard. They can, for instance, put the kneecap is in constant motion. You know, so it's not like you can put something on there and then because it gets ripped off right away again. What they can do is like drill a hole in there and then and put a Teflon plate in it. But then if you drill the hole, the knee becomes 35% more weak, so you have way more chance to break the knee. And once you break your kneecap, you know, that's why, what my doctor said, that's why the mafiosos, they break your kneecaps. Because that's like the worst thing to do to somebody.
Yeah, the knees are brutal, man. I've had 3 knee operations. I had my left ACL reconstructed, my meniscus scoped on my left knee. Here, I got a picture of it here if you want to check it out. Check this out real quick. Can you see that? This is resurfacing. This is where they took his cartilage was so fucked up. Whoa. They took it off and they resurfaced it with steel. And this white stuff in this picture, this is the artificial meniscus. I'll put this picture on Twitter later on so everybody else can see it. It's pretty fucking crazy. It
Man,
really
the
is.
stuff that they can do nowadays is bizarre.
Yeah, it's pretty fucking crazy.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, this is really new stuff that they're doing. But I mean, his knee looks like
But how does he feel?
He feels great.
You
He's
see,
fucking
maybe I
crazy.
should talk to him
He's
then.
the wildest motherfucker I've ever met. He was a flight surgeon. He's in his 50s and he's still trying to fight. He's crazy. He's out of his mind.
It's a very hard thing to step away from.
Yeah.
You know, to come back to it. It's very when I have students of mine or friends of mine fighting, I'm way more nervous than they are. It's like because you can't control it. It's like sitting next to the driver, you know, and they go fast. You go like, I'd rather have the wheel, so I'm in
Yeah.
control here. You know, and that's no, it's hard. There's no feeling like it, like when you win or when you, for 6 or 8 weeks, you work on like 5 special combinations, you know, on the ground and standing, and then to see if you can land one of those. And then 90% of the time you do. You know, it's something that you really worked on, and then you land that thing, and then it's like a hole in one, I guess. That's what I always say. It has to be a feeling like that.
Yeah,
You
well,
know?
I think much crazier than that. I think that it's just the ultimate gamble. You know, you're out there throwing your bones at some guy, you know, trying to hit his vital areas, and it ain't just a regular guy; it's a fucking expert, and he's
Yep.
doing the exact same thing. And so much of your success is based on how much dedication you have, how much
That's it.
time you put in, how much you can keep your shit together under pressure. It's the ultimate high, right? When you win, it's the ultimate high.
It really is. And what you say, the thing is, I always say, can you bring the dojo, the way you fight and train there and spar there, can you bring that game to the ring?
Because that's
Can
the
you-
big problem with
That's
guys.
the thing.
That
Yeah.
is the big thing.
Under pressure. You
A lot
know,
of guys are
screaming
gym
fans.
fighters, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And a lot of guys fold. Like you'll see them, they'll do great, and they'll be like dominating, and then the guy will still be there.
Yeah.
And then you see the adversity, you see doubt, you see all kinds of creepy things about, you know, whatever the fuck haunts their subconscious, whatever the fuck is in their personality that they don't like. You see it surface.
Most of the time is that you see a guy when they hit him with a hard shot, you know, and it's most of the time the muscular guys, by the way. Check it out. And the big blown up dudes. When they hit somebody with their best bang and the guy recovers and comes back, and then you see him go down, or they have him in a submission and they think they had him, and then the guy escapes.
Yeah.
You know, that's like a mental break for them. Then they give up. It's like the weirdest thing. You go like, whoa, man, it's so good. I know so many fighters who are like that, and I say, just do it again. Do it again and make it a little bit more tight. Why won't you do that, you know? But no, they give up.
The fear of losing is a tremendous burden that a lot of guys have, and it eventually manifests itself in a fight. It's like they're so afraid of losing, they're so afraid of fucking up that they make it happen.
But it's afraid of losing in front of an audience because they have to listen to what those people going to tell them. Well, you should have done this. And Chris Lieben said it really funny a long time ago. He says, you got knocked out by Silva, right? And he said, it's bad if you go to the Blockbuster and the guy behind the desk tells you what you should have done, you know, because everybody knows better. And that's horrible. And that's why I always say, you fight for yourself. You say, oh, Bas, you fight for your family, your wife, and your kids? No, I fight for me, because that takes a lot of pressure off. Because really think about this. And if you have a fellow fighter and you go both into a room, you lock the door, you guys fight, do you really care if you lose? I don't think I really care. I love to win, but you know, I don't know. You know, he's the best man that day. He won that fight. Now, if it's in front of an audience, you got to go through all that BS that these other people say who have no clue what it's all about. But you see what I mean? It's all you're fighting for those people, and it's so much pressure. That's why stay away from I'm going to rip his head off, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, because all that they will play at the moment you walk through the cage and you hear yourself saying what you're going to do.
Your head, right?
Oh yeah, because that's why I never did that, because you put a lot of pressure on you. Now I better do what I said.
Yeah, guys, I don't think guys realize it, but you see it in their face sometimes when they step into the octagon. You see all the shit talking they've said, and they're like, whew, here we go. Like, wow, what have I fucking done?
There's a few shit talkers who are actually really good. You know,
Chael Sonnen is pretty good at it.
He's the master.
Josh
at it,
Barnett's pretty good at it too.
Josh Barnett is really good at it too. Yeah,
Yeah, there's a few guys who know to sling it.
smart guys. Frank Shamrock was good at it.
Yes.
Smart comments make, and
Yeah.
Tito made a whole career out of it also. You know, You know, and everybody said, I said that those are not the guys that you see. You know, they're playing a smart game. Nick Diaz.
Yeah, he loves it.
He loves it, and he's a really nice guy. You know, I like him a lot.
Well, he gets fired up though when he fights. When he fights, he's not such a nice guy.
Yeah,
yeah.
But that's the way it's supposed to be.
Psychological warfare is a part of fighting, right?
That's it. Who can? I always say, who's got the biggest balls? Who can? You know, keep on going. That's why I always say, stamina is the number one thing. You know, that's one thing they can never say from me. In my whole MMA career, I never run out of gas, because that's the only thing you can control. You know, when you train. Go run an extra hill. Do something. There's nothing dumber than losing.
How difficult was that for you though when you started to get the tendonitis? Because you know there's there's stamina from from grappling that you probably couldn't get. Like I know for a fact that Tyoshi Kosaka fight.
Yep.
When you fought Kosaka, when you won the title, right? That's who you won the title. No, that was your first fight. You won the title from Randleman. When you fought Kosaka, you had a problem. Like you couldn't do any grappling for a while, right? Didn't you have a neck problem?
A neck problem. I got against Daryl Golar, the wrestler.
Very good.
I got him in a triangle at the gym, and he lifted me up, and he slammed me down with my neck into the corner. Yeah, that took a long time. God knows the whole thing. I just had surgery comes from that all the way back. And that
what was the injury? What was?
It was. I have no clue, but it was so painful. I had a daughter at the time. She was like 9 months old, and she could not lay on my chest.
Whoa!
I was coughing, you know, and everything was. It was funny because I had this big syringe of lidocaine. And I'm injecting myself in between my ribs.
Oh my God!
And the UFC comes in with the cameras, right? And that was at the time with the movie with Universal Soldier. And these guys are freaking out, you know. I said, no, come in. I said, this is, you know, the doctor knows this.
Lidocaine is dangerous shit.
Yeah, but you have to watch out where to do it. But, you know, if they do it, it always goes wrong because they can't feel where it is. Mm-hmm. But I had to between every rib. I had to go.
So you have to do it yourself.
Yeah.
Fuck!
Yeah, that was painful.
Lidocaine is like the gay cousin of cocaine. For people who don't know, it just numbs things up. When I got my nose fixed, I got a deviated septum fixed, and they squirt lidocaine out there when they're cleaning it out, so that it doesn't freak you out. Because they go up in your nose with a vacuum cleaner. Yeah. And it's like, you know when you vacuum your car at the car wash and it gets stuck on the floor mat and goes that happens to the back of your fucking skull, like right where your brain is when they're cleaning out, you know, blood clots and you know and dried up boogers and shit, and they spray lidocaine up there, and I felt fucked up for the whole day. Like I was like, what is wrong with me? I'm like out of it, and then I realized, oh, it's that lidocaine. Yeah. So then I go online and I'm like, what is the effects of lidocaine? People fucking die from it. Girls that put it on their legs when they go to get their legs lasered, they get the hair lasered off their legs. It's painful, so they cover their legs with lidocaine. Some girl died in her fucking car. She covered her legs in lidocaine and then wrapped her legs up in saran wrap, and she just OD'd on lidocaine.
Oh yeah.
And you're shooting it into your ribs.
In my ribs, I used to many times that I would go to the fight, and then when I had my wrestling shoes, because we had to wear shoes at Pancrase, they would be open like I had an ankle injury, and I would wait until they called my name. Because one time I broke my hand, the knuckle, and they said, oh, we put the lidocaine in there and it's going to work for like an hour, but it's not. It's like 15 minutes, you know, especially when your heart rate is up, it goes really fast. So at the moment I stepped into the ring, I go like, oh no, it's back, you know. So they're not going to do this again, you know. So I did it at the moment they would call my name. I would put it in, and then hopefully I was not going to feel it.
Fuck.
Yeah.
So you were fighting on lidocaine. So you shoot it in you and then fight right there.
Yeah, because you could walk, you know. I made a really bad trip when I was running the day before I jumped on the plane. And it was against Vernon Tiger White. It was like my fourth fight or something somewhere there. And it's like, it's unbelievable. He takes me down and he goes for a toe hold on that angle. Like, I mean, it's like I'm sending out a signal, you know, take this, take this.
It is a weird signal because whenever I get a tattoo, somebody fucking slaps me on the arm where the tattoo is.
It's always. If you have an injury here where you never get hit, if you spar, you're going to get hit there. It is what it is.
If you hurt your hand, for sure some's going to squeeze it when they shake it. For sure. I don't know
Why?
what it is. A lot of times you'll go a whole year without a guy giving you one of those douchey handshakes. You know those douchey handshakes where he grabs the tip of your fingers and squishes them all
really
together?
hard.
What the fuck is that about?
Insecure handshake.
You'll go a year with that. But if you hurt your hand, it's right away. That's the first thing that's going to happen. The guy's
Weird is that, huh?
Fucking strange.
It's the same. You got two lines. You always pick the line that's the longest way.
Yeah.
This one is way longer. You take the shortest, and they go.
This guy goes for a break, and the fucking replacement comes in. They got to redo the register. Yeah.
And the check, the old grandmother, you know, with the check. Oh, what is the time? How much again? Oh, sorry, I got to take it another one.
When I see people paying with checks, I'm like, why don't you just fucking whip out beaver pelts?
I cannot.
I saw one the other day at the grocery store.
Fucking
It's like,
crazy.
really, you're still using this?
Yeah, that's where last time I saw it too, was at the grocery store. I'm like,
Yeah.
checks? People allow you to just write on a piece of paper?
Yeah, the Big Lebowski, when he pays like 79 cents on that milk.
Yeah.
The opening movie.
Oh,
The
fucking
opening
check.
shot.
So if you didn't have all these injuries, do you think you would have kept going, or do you think?
I think I would have kept going a few more years, yeah. Because it was not a problem not having stamina. And, you know, I've always been very blessed with my body. You know, now people look at me now the whole time and they say, oh my God, how much you train? Well, I didn't train for a year. You know, it's like I'm just genetically really put together because of my dad. My brother has the same. He's a lawyer, but it's the same. He's got no fat.
Just good base.
Good genes, yeah. They're all athletes, the Rutten side, you know. So, yeah, never had a problem with that. What was the question?
The question was whether or not you would keep going.
Oh yeah, no, I would. Yeah, because you know, like I said, there's nothing like it. But at the moment, the fun is gone out of training. Training would be so much fun for me because you know somebody every time you know when you roll, every time something pops up. Oh God, that's cool.
Yeah,
man,
some new
and then
move,
it's some new thing, and then you start using on other people, and it works, and it works, and it works, and it works. Oh my God, this is great, you know. And every time a new little thing, or somebody shows you another little thing, like a guillotine choke, do it like this because they can escape. You know, Sergio Pena showed to me. I go, wow. It's like bizarre things, and they get that whole
likes
crazy.
that one, yeah.
And you know, and it's so cool. But then when you have the pain the whole time, it takes the pleasure out of it. And once you have no more fun, what's the use of still keep?
So
going?
you can't roll at all right now.
No, and especially just after my surgery, I can do 10 pounds.
So this surgery is the same surgery from the Daryl Golar incident that you just had?
I don't know. I think it added on, maybe, you know.
That was the first time it got hurt, though.
Yeah, I think so.
What was the actual surgery? What did they have done?
Between C4 and 5, and 5 and 6, my nerves were flat, squashed.
Whoa.
So I lost atrophy, my whole arm and shoulder. So now they honed the holes open around it. They made so the nerves they can breathe again. So
a lot of guys get that. Jose Aldo just got that. He has a nerve issue as well. His arms are going numb. And Carwin had it as well. He just had surgery on it. Carwin did.
Oh my God! That for Jose Aldo, he's one of my favorite guys. And
that guy's good.
That's not good, man. This is a bad injury because this is going to take a long time. I mean, this is over 2 months ago, and I noticed things like I can brush my teeth harder. Push a little bit harder when I wash under my armpit, or I can shave my whole head now with a razor blade, which I couldn't do before. Things like that. But power-wise, I do 15 pounds. That's it.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really weak. So when you roll around, it's not fun. You know. Of course, they attack that arm. There we go again. Murphy's law. Everybody goes in that. I had Gegard Musashi was over, and his brother said that they could break his grip at an armbar. I have a really weird way of putting an armbar on, but the way I do it, nobody can escape, you know. And I do that. I control the hand. I make sure that the elbow points up, you know, and I control it in such a way that your arm, you can't get out. I can just cover your face. The other leg I just can put away, and you still can't get out.
Really?
Yeah. And he said to me, oh, but you can do that on me. So I'm trying. I can't break because apparently he's known for it. It's very strong. And he says, see a guy? I say, flip around. He says, why? I said, this is my wrong arm. So I go to the other side and go, and got him in the armbar right away. I said, listen, I can't do 15 pounds with this. You know, it's a very weak arm right now.
So is it eventually going to come back to 100%?
You know, they say it's like a millimeter a day. And it's 2 months ago, so that will be 6 centimeters. Starting from my neck. It's got to go all the way to here.
6 centimeters of what? Of healing?
Of healing. The nerve heals like a millimeter a day, they say.
Okay.
Yeah, so 9 months to a year, I should expect at least, he said. He says,
So 9
if
months to a
it
year.
comes back, because I was very late with it. They misdiagnosed me. So I walked around with this thing for a long time.
So what is the thing, though? What was the actual injury? So is it the compression of the
compression.
nerves?
And the pain, all the hard pain that I had, that was the nerve apparently is a whole bunch of little cables, he says. And outside there's the pain thing. You know, once you squish that, you know, you're already really far gone. And that happened with me. I had no pain anymore. And he says, man, that's the worst thing because that means that's all already died.
So you're damaging it and you don't even feel it.
That's it.
Wow. So then they go in there, they drill it out, and then you have to wait forever for it to heal up.
Yeah.
Wow. And there's nothing you can do in between time. You just have to let it
Nothing. I started actually yesterday, and I think 2 days ago, I started running on a treadmill, but only with the incline, so I can roll on the balls of my feet, so I don't have my knees shocking.
Right.
And I'm actually feeling okay today, my knees. So I figured, okay, if I can do that, then I can at least start doing my sprints again. I used to be a freak, man. I could these. What I do is I run 10 miles, 10 minutes, 11 miles an hour. That's the warm up.
Right.
And then I jump off. I start stretching while I put the incline all the way up, go to 9 miles an hour, and then I jump on for 45 seconds and off for 30. And I do those 10 of those rounds. And after that, I run like 5 minutes to run it out, done, take a 5-minute break, and then I do my power training workout. This is when I was at the top of my game, because that's really hard.
So you would do your sprints first, and then you would do your power training later?
Yeah, that everybody thought it was weird. But for me, if you do the power training first, it hinders you with your running. Sometimes I would do it to mimic the fights, because that's what I think is the biggest problem with a lot of guys. They don't realize that you're pumping everything. You should do abs, a lot of abs, before you fight and stretch them out. Because what happens is your abs, they start filling up with lactic acid behind your abs or your lungs. And that's why you see the roid guys, because they have that boop right away. They go strong, boom, and then they drop. And I think it really is because of the abs. Because if they do 10 times this, it stays like this, right? It pumps up. Well, imagine that happens to your core. And with everything while you're fighting, you're using your core. Takedown defense, everything. So that starts blowing up, stops your lungs from breathing. That's why you get tired.
So you think abs are important for stamina? That's what you're saying?
Very important to keep them loose. To keep them loose and to stretch them out. This is very important. I would take, before a fight, also aspirin. To make my blood thin. Because in Thai boxing, I would never wear wraps. I don't like to have wraps around me. So
really?
I would go bare knuckle in the gloves. And with the shoes, I hated those things. This was totally Japanese rules, right?
The Pancrase shoes.
Yeah, because what happens is those Japanese guys, they're really good on the ground. And so they say, okay, and the striking not so. Okay, so let's put them on shin guards, let's put them on knee protection, and push shoes because they're good with leg locks, and no gloves because then they're good for the rear naked chokes and all. I mean, they're totally adapted. When I left Pancrase, I think 2-3 months later, they changed the rules. It was closed fist and no more. I go, whoa. I've been waiting for a long time for this.
Yeah, they had to try to adapt to be mixed martial arts.
Yep.
Yeah, eventually. So is it Pancrase where you hurt your knees?
I don't know. I have no clue. I think I'm very explosive, and I think over the years that just scraped off, and my things are bold. They say they're bleeding bone marrow out of one knee.
God,
so it's like,
damn.
it's like very painful, man. It's not fun.
Do you do any other martial arts exercises? I know you have that thing that you sell.
Yeah. Well,
that's part of it because you don't want to hit things, right?
Exactly like that, yeah. Because it has no impact. You don't get the tendonitis.
Right.
Every fighter should use that thing like 12 days before the fight. Not a heavy bag anymore. That's where the accidents happen.
Right.
You get tired, sweat on the back with your gloves, it slips, or the wrist hurts. There's always things happen with a heavy bag. And they like to hit a heavy bag, which I did also because it's a cool thing. But there's always that moment when you hit really hard, like a liver shot, and you feel dink.
Right.
And then I know, okay, tomorrow I got the tendonitis.
Did you develop this thing? It's called the Bas system. What is it? What does it stand for?
The body action stand. So what happened was this a long time ago, like 4 years or something ago, my agent tells me that this woman wants to see me. They have a product. And it started out with a stand with 2 of those kicking things.
Like the Taekwondo thing?
Yeah, those 2. So I came to her, and I was hungover. It was the last period that I was still drinking. And I walk in, I say, okay, I'm telling you right now, because you can breathe it, you can smell it. I'm a little hangover. Let me take a look at this thing, and I call you back tomorrow what I think. So I looked at the thing, and the next day, I called back. I said, okay, now this is what we should do. And I had this whole list ready. And she goes like, whoa. We thought you didn't notice anything yesterday. I said, no. And then I came up to do a head, do a body pad, and make targets on there. And, but then it starts because people think this is an easy product. There's knockoffs from these things, right? They're already selling knockoffs. If you buy that thing, then you realize that was like our early stages, what you're going to have. They're going to flop around, they're going to break, because you need to find a spring that is just right to not be too floppy and not too stiff. If it's too stiff, the whole stand will move. If it's too floppy, you can't knock it for the second punch because it's still moving. You know, it needs to be just right. Now, the foam in there needs to be just right. Now, foam, the density, if it's really tight foam, it's heavier, you know? So if you say, okay, it is a little bit too hard, I want different foam, you put different foam, but now because it's lighter, then the spring needs to be changed again. So every time I got like 8 prototypes and I have to train on those things the whole time to see and find out which is what and what's the best weight and the best foam with what spring. It took 2.5 years. Really, 2.5 years to find that. They hit that thing, 30,000 times with a machine. Dong, dong, dong. That thing, when you buy it, won't break. 2 guys, there was 2 heads broke. But that was from a shipment that we right away took out because there was something with the glue that it didn't connect, or it was vaporizing or eating the glue. So it didn't work. There was 2 only. We sent the new heads back, and we sold a lot of those things.
So you have no problems?
No problem.
Do you use those yourself? Do you use
every time when I train? Yeah. But right now I can't. I use a lot I can't do hooks. Like, see, that's a weird angle for me. And uppercuts. If I make 10 uppercuts, the last uppercut goes slow up because it's biceps. Now you really realize that you need your biceps in order to put your body weight into a punch. You can't lock it up now. A straight punch I'm okay with, but hooks, I can hit with a glove. I can hit you as hard as I want to your belly. You're not going to go down.
Wow.
For real. Yeah, it's pathetic when I look at it.
Why did you like having no wraps on?
I always have that. I want to have my blood flow keep going. For some reason, I have the feeling if this happens, that it doesn't circulate anymore naturally.
It's a bad feeling when you got a tight wrap, when it's too tight.
Yeah, I don't like it at all. And you don't need it. If you hit the right way, all these guys are so... Like Tyson, I always give the example. Just know or just learn how to hit the correct way and nothing will happen. These guys, they come in the room and they got the special guys. That they got a stitch there on call every day, 2 times a day. They wrap the hands perfect. He can hit it in any angle. It doesn't matter. So then, when this guy, that's why when he had a street fight, he would always break his hand, right, Tyson? Right. Because he doesn't know how to hit. He hits him with the pinky, or whatever, wrong technique.
But isn't it hard when you're fighting because guys move and sometimes you wanted to hit him with these 2 knuckles, but you accidentally catch him with the last knuckle?
You know, of course, it's always... you have
happens.
to, yeah, you know, and especially in karate, with the Kyokushin karate, you're sparring and it's bare knuckle. And some of these guys, they have a gi. And some guys have their hips here, right? Mm-hmm. So that's how I broke this one also. You hit a hip. You think you have to get the liver, but it's not. It's a hip bone. Yeah, that'll hurt. That was the good thing in mixed martial arts because now you can see what you're hitting.
Everything. Now you started out in Taekwondo. Is that what you?
Taekwondo. That was my first sport. Yeah, I did that for about, I don't know, 4 weeks or 6 weeks, and I was already beating up the brown belts. You have to understand my parents are very conservative. They would never allow me to do a martial art. But I always got bullied. And I saw a Bruce Lee movie in '76, Enter the Dragon, in France when we were on a holiday. And I came out and said, that's it, I want to be Bruce Lee, you know? So I made these nunchucks. And I was on like kung fu shoes. I had the whole nine yards. I was really... So... I asked my parents, please, but they wouldn't allow me. So I kept going, training myself, so watching movies and just kept training. And then finally, after 2 years, they said, okay, you know, stop asking questions, go. And we had a neighbor, the girl next door, she had a boyfriend who was the cool guy from the town. And he said, okay, come with me. He took me kind of under a swing. And it went really good. I started beating up, like I said, the brown belts out like within 6 weeks. So I said, man, you got a good feeling. So my confidence rose. And at that moment, I was riding my bike on the street, and the biggest bully comes with 6 of his buddies or something, and they said something, and I shouted something back, and they all were laughing, and they right away came after me. And when I saw them coming for me, I stopped my bike, and I put it down, and I was just waiting for the guy. And then the biggest bully comes to me, and he's pushing. You know that in the early days, you push with your chest.
Right.
And he pushed against my chest, and I go, paf! And he goes down, broke his nose, out. Anybody more? Nobody did anything. I come home, police was already home waiting. And that was it. No more Taekwondo for me. So when I moved out of the house when I was 21, you know, that's when I started fighting.
That's when you started kickboxing and everything else.
Kickboxing, yeah.
Muay Thai. And how did you transition into Pancrase? Where did that come about?
You know, this is, it's cool. We got time, right?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, cool. Now, let me go back. Let me see. I was fighting Thai boxing in Holland. I won a lot of fights by knockout. Like my first 14 fights, I won by knockout. 13 in the first round. Round 1, I was sick.
What was your final kickboxing record when you
16 and 2. No, 14 wins, 2 losses. So, I fought this guy who was in jail for a long time, Frank Lotman, very powerful fighter. Had a record like 52 with like 3 losses and like 48 knockouts, some monster. Now, apparently, I was a bouncer at the time. Apparently, on New Year's Day, when I was bouncing, I was also drunk. Well, that's an example. And somebody asked me if I wanted to fight him. And I said, sure. So I think like the end of January, I get a phone call. They asked me where to send the posters to. And I said, what posters? From the fights. I said, who's going to fight? You against Lotman. And I go, who said that? He said, you. You told me that you're going to fight first. So now they had posters already. I go like, okay, you know, I might as well, I got to do it now because otherwise they're going to think I'm scared, right? So I had about 5 weeks to train. Now you got to understand that I got tired from jumping rope the first time. I was so out of shape, it was not even funny. So anyway, I go to the fights, and I just had my knee, my shin, at this here. There was a huge hole. I did some crazy stuff on a wall. There was a wall I jumped on. I was always really good in jumping up like Randleman did. You know, I could jump this high, like my chest here. I would stand in front of it and jump on a wall. But it had been raining, and I jumped on it. My toes slid up, and I landed on my shin on it. So they ripped my shin open. So the day of the fight was all wild flash, and we had the tape, you know, and it was like super glue and everything. And my friend says, okay, lidocaine. There it is again, right? He says, you know, I said, just put it around. He says, no, we'll numb up the whole leg. You know, don't worry about it. He says, and he said, he put it in my butt. So he says, the leg would be numb. And you'll see that fight. You'll see that fight. I'm like jumping. I'm never jump when I fight. And the whole time I'm, you know, and I'm shaking my leg and I can't feel my leg. It's like the weirdest thing, you know.
Oh no.
So then they said there was a knockout. It was a knockout. When you look at the fight, you'll see. I don't think he even hits me. But I'm landing on my butt and I want to get up and I can't get up. My leg doesn't work. And I go, whoa, you know. I said, man, my leg doesn't work, you know. So, and the referee said, stop the fight. Then all the people start saying, see, I always said that he cannot fight. So that really bugged me, of course. Anyway, I said, okay, I'll fight another fight. Shouldn't have done that either, because on the 3 days or 4 days before the fight, I helped a buddy of mine out. They really beat the crap out of him. He had his jaw all the way wired. You know, and his mouth was closed. So we went to the guys who did it, and we got in a little scuffle there, of course. And they threw me in jail for a couple of days. In the jail,
one is why you can't get in Canada,
Right.
Yeah, but it's a long time ago. In the jail, I had, for some reason, I got an infection in one of my testicles.
Whoa!
And it became like really big, and it was hurting a lot. And they let me out. You know, because it was only a few days. They did the whole test, and they found out that, you know, what the guys did, and they say, you know what, we're not gonna bring you to court. You know, they kind of felt that we were right, you know, doing what we did. Anyway, I still fought, and I shouldn't have taken that fight. I knocked the guy down 3 times in the first round, and then actually I win. I make a spinning of a back fist. Oh yeah, that was it. He's standing in front of me, and I'm so tired. You know, my body is. I'm so tired, and I go boom. Give him a back fist in his neck, and he goes down. And I think I won the fight. And apparently, like a month before, there was a rule that if you did a back fist, you only could do it with a turn. Some bullshit.
What?
Yeah, it was bullshit. Anyway, I couldn't come out for the second round because I was too tired, and they said, okay. Now it really started in Holland. You see, I always said he was not so good, blah, blah, blah. I said, okay, I never fight for Holland anymore. This is over. You know, if these fans are like this, I don't want to fight in front of people like this. But there was
Very
always...
sensitive.
Yeah, it is, because, you know, it's your life. It's, but it was always that I wanted to do something with martial arts. So a buddy of mine, we both together, we made this show. It's like a martial arts show on music, and we start doing this in like nightclubs, and we would like, but really cool stuff. I would kick him in the belly like Bruce Lee and Enter the Dragon, right? He would grab my foot, throw me back, and I would make a flying kick in his face and land. And, you know, we did all that cool stuff. We would come on with like a cartwheel, flick, flack, and that's the way we would walk to the place. And we had bows, and we did nunchucks, and we did like break tests, the crazy stuff, and little cups on his mouth. I would kick back, spinning back kick here, and jump up, and flying back kick the cup off his head. You know, so good quality martial arts. But we start putting comedy in there also, like funny things that. For instance, I would stand there very serious with a suit, and I go get the cups, and the guy would come back, and he had these little cups, and I kept looking straight and go, no, the other ones. What? The other ones. And he'd go, okay. So then he would walk, and then he would come back with cups like this, like buckets. You know, stuff like that. We start doing stuff like that. And he would have there was also a funny one. I would do a break test, and the same thing. You know, he would come with the break test, and I go, the other ones. You know, so then he came back, and he had like these wooden things that were this thick, you know.
Little thin things.
And he would spread them out like a deck of cards, and I would like pick one, right? And he would hold it, and then I would stand in front of it, and I go, and then he would, because of fear, he would break it already, you know, stuff like that we would do. And that caught on real fast. People really seemed to like that. So suddenly we were doing this on bigger shows. First in nightclubs, then we started doing it on shows like events, big events. Rob Kamen, when he was fighting, I think that when he had the main event one time, we were in the break, you know, showing this to the people. So that got aired. And then we were on Dutch TV, and then Eurosport saw it, and they had an event yearly in France, and we went to there, and we started traveling now and doing these shows all over the place. And comedy was always the thing. Once we start doing the comedy, people will know me. There's a few of those things on YouTube, actually. So on one of these shows, because we came up with all these flick-flacks and somersaults and all that stuff, Chris Dolman was sitting there. And Chris Dolman is one of the forefathers in Holland. He was a judo champion, tough guy, you know. And he called me to him, and he says, man, you got some really good abilities, man. Did you ever think about free fighting? You know what it is? He says, no. He said, well, we do that in Japan. Are you interested? I say, sure, because I go, okay, that's not Holland, that's Japan, right? So he says, come and try it out. So I walk in there, and at that moment I was, you know, European champion Thai boxing. So it was because those two fights weren't for a title. So I thought I was the cool dude, and that was literally like Royce Gracie in the beginning. You know, I walk in and they killed me. And they will put on these chokes, not blood chokes, but like on my windpipe, you know, and pulling, because a lot of those guys...
You had no grappling back then?
Zero.
Did you know that they were going to grapple when you went there?
No, nothing. I had no clue. I saw them on the ground, and then they said, okay, just go.
Whoa.
So I had no clue.
So you showed up, you just thought it was just some kind of a crazy fight, you had no idea.
Just fighting. So we're training, and I literally, when I drove back, I had to stop my car next to the road, and I had one of the first Philips cell phones. It was really cool at the time. I remember these
giant
pretty big.
Yeah.
And I called my wife. I said, "Listen, I have my car next to the road here. I'm going to sleep." I said, "I can drive." It broke me. It really, I had to drink liquid food for like 3 days because my whole throat was messed up because I thought I could hold that. You know, so I was just fighting it, and they were pulling till at the end I would tap, but it was all crushed up, and my wife was already laughing. She says, okay, so that's it, right? I said, no, I'm going to go back, and within 6 months, 6 months, I'm going to tap everybody there, you know, because I want to learn this. I want to learn this game. But things started happening, and I got an injury here, an injury there, and I had to work, and I was a bouncer, and you know, once a month I would go over there, and it kind of faded away. Then my wife looks at me in the beginning of our career, and she says, you're going to be a famous fighter in Japan. And I go, well, why do you say that? She says, that just came up with me. I said, no, I'm not going to fight anymore, I told you. She said, yeah, you said Holland, but you're going to go to Japan. 6 months after she made that comment, I got a phone call, and I never pick up the phone. And the answering machine was broken. Or turned off because my crazy ex-wife was calling all the time, so I didn't turn on. So I get I pick up the phone for some reason, and it's Chris Dolman. He says, Bas, you got to come tonight. You got to come to Amsterdam. There's a tryout. There's 2 guys here, Suzuki and Funaki. They're looking for fighters for a new organization, Pancrase. So I went to the tryout. I had a scuffle with one of the rings champion because they were fighting for rings, but it was a lot of work. I heard already that they were having works. Which
By works, you mean fixed fights?
Fixed fights.
There was a lot of that in Pancrase, right?
No, there wasn't rings. In Pancrase, I will come
Pancrase
back to
there
that.
wasn't?
No, I believe so that there was, but not what the people said. Like, they never asked me. Well, I'll come back to that also. Anyway, because he told me right there, he says, it's probably going to ask you a little bit later if you want to lose a fight. Anyway, I started sparring with this guy. This guy was a rings champion. He tried to hurt me because they were filming. Result was me knocking him out with a high kick, boom, and his whole eyebrow was open. He had to go to the hospital for stitches. Suzuki and Funaki, I saw them pointing at me. So they wanted me. I think 2.5 months later, I was in Japan. And before I went, I got that speech from Chris Doman. He said, they're probably going to ask you, to lose or to win a fight. I said, Chris, I don't want to do that. He said, if I fight, it needs to be real. Otherwise, I don't. I hated those guys who were there. And they would come back and they would say, I became a champion. And they were all cool. But then when they came back and they had to lose, they would come back and they say, yeah, I lost, but I had to lose. Yeah,
Right.
Last time they made you win, but you don't say that. But you only say it when you lose. So I hated those guys with that. You're not a real guy. So I knocked the first guy out. And in the second fight, I knocked the other guy out, Fouquet. And then, by the way, we had dinner with Funaki and Suzuki, and I thought, oh, God, here we go. So dinner, they gave me a book from Fujiwara, a really good wrestler. And we had great dinner, and then they put me on a cab. And just before they walked in, I go, whoa, wait. I said, I thought you guys were going to ask me something. He said, what do you mean? He says, well, Chris Dolman told me that, that you're probably going to ask to throw the fight. And Suzuki told me straight in my face, I will never ask you such a thing. He said, we will never do that. Now, over the years, I've been hearing, of course, and some fights, when you look at fights, it looks really smooth and going over. And like Ken Shamrock said, he lost. Also, the lost fights were all works. It's also, you go like, okay, he lost twice by exactly the same combination, a heel hook into a knee bar against the same opponent. And you go like, if it was not real, wouldn't you come up with something else to lose? Would you really do 2 times the same? You see, so that's been also in my head.
Did you ever see Bart Vale versus Ken Shamrock?
No.
It looks so fake. It's one of the early ones that looks really like a work. There's a few that look really like a work.
Yeah.
That's one of them. You've seen the ones in Pride. Like, remember when Coleman fought Takada?
God, Takada.
And were you commentating on that one? Were you
Oh my
commentating
God,
on
I
that?
hated my guts because it was the funniest thing ever. We knew that Coleman was going to lose in 6 minutes with a heel hook, right?
You knew.
That was the word. I heard that. So when the reporters came in, they asked me, who do you think is going to win? And I say Takada's going to win in about 6 minutes with the heel hook. And they went around and they changed it. They went like faster or something. They didn't like that I was doing that.
Wow.
But I go like, that's something, again, that's why sometimes I get emotional from it when people say, oh, it was fake. And then the worst one, what they say is, yeah, but sometimes it was fake and Bas didn't know of it. So they told the opponent to lose against Bas.
Oh.
Like I fought against Funaki. And then one guy said one time, he said, yeah, that was a work because he didn't hurt you. I said, when did he decide that he was going to lose? Was it before or after he tried to break my freaking leg? I mean, I know if you see the fight, he puts me a heel hook, an inverted heel hook with the toes in his neck, and my heel is 180 degrees there. I'm literally looking at my own leg, and I go, oh my God, I don't feel it, that I thought nobody else. That was a big risk what he was going to take if this was a fake fight, right?
Yeah.
And he did it like 2 or 3 times. And you'll see my leg completely be turned the other way.
Did you suffer any damage? Because
No, I have no clue how that
reverse
is.
heel hook is one of the worst.
It's
right?
the worst one. I broke this. I'm walking on the street, right? And we suddenly be here with all the fighters. We hear, Hybrid Wrestling, Pancrase. And we look, and there's this giant screen. And the first thing you see is me, paf, giving a palm strike, and the guy goes down, and we go, yay, and it's the promo for the next day. So I see this guy, Takahashi, sitting in a half guard, and he grabs a heel, and he falls back. And I go, this is at the time I had nobody to roll with, right? I trained on the back 2 times a day. My first year and a half in Pancrase was me training on the back, pretty much.
No wrestling, no
No,
jiu-jitsu
pretty much
training.
nothing. Like rolling around. If there was somebody who knew judo, he would come. I mean, I'm talking about once every 3 weeks. I'm not kidding. So next day I'm in that position, and I go, oh, might as well try it, right? So I grabbed that heel, but since I never did it, I didn't realize how much pressure I put on. So I grab it and I fall back using my body weight. I snap the shin in half. So first we hear go, you know. So I go, whoa, you see me letting go? And then he feels his knee and he's like, the referee, you want to fight? He said, yeah. But I go like, well, dude, I heard your knee snap because we thought it was a knee. But apparently it was still like a little stuck on that leg. So then he kicks with that leg. And I flex my muscle. You see and then when he puts a foot down, it bends all the way out. You know, it's like that.
I've seen that a few times.
Yeah.
Wow.
I've seen it a few times with checked legs. Only in person once. Corey Hill and who did he fight? I forget who he fought. Brent. No, what the hell's his name? Anyway, whoever he fought, he checks his kick and Corey Hill's leg snaps backwards. The referee didn't even see it. So Corey goes down and the referee was in a bad angle. We're all screaming, stop the fight. Referee didn't even know, and he's just on his back, like freaking out.
That's dangerous, man. Especially the shin when it's splintered, you know, and it hits a wrong.
You can bleed out. You can bleed out.
The guy, you showed me, I think, on Twitter. You sent a tweet with the guy who's fighting with the broken arm.
Yeah.
Remember? I mean, how tough is that dude?
Yeah.
And he didn't feel it. Then the referee saw it in round 3, and then they stopped the fight. But this guy was just going, annihilating the other guy with it. It was unbelievable. Both these guys were actually really good. I go, what organization was that?
Well, you know, Rich Franklin, when he fought Chuck Liddell, he broke his arm. He punched Chuck with it after it was broken.
Yeah.
God. So you went and after your fighting career was done, then you started doing the commentary in Japan. You had a couple of fights after that. The Ruben Villarreal fight you had in the WFA.
Yeah.
And
What happened was that I would have Mark Kerr and Marco Huas and Pedro Hizo and all these guys that were training with us at the Beverly Hills Jiu-Jitsu Club, and I would train those guys and I would go with them as cornerman. And in Japan, when you fight, you see the fights are on in the dressing room. So I'm sitting, I'm watching there, and Yukino and Hideki, those two guys, the people from Pride who live in America, you know, who are the in-between persons, so to say, are there also. And I go like, oh, look at that, he's going to go for straight armbar. I say on his right arm, watch out, here he comes, boom, and the guy's got straight armbar. So they look at me. And then the next fight is right away also again. I say, oh my God, he's looking for a knee bar. Oh, he's going to roll in like right. He's going to roll and he's going to go for knee bar. And sure enough, he rolls and he goes for knee bar. And they go like, how do you know this? I said, well, you can see the setup. And they look at each other and they say, did you ever think about being a commentator? And that's how I got the job.
who was doing it before you?
Nobody, because they were looking at that moment, they were looking at new people because they had the first 9 or something. Quadros and I, we did that in a studio later, you know. Yeah, but I think the first one was.
Because Eddie did it with Quadros for a while. Eddie Bravo did
He did it also,
Quadros,
yeah.
And you came in and did
Hoyce Gracie. Hoyce Gracie, that was the first one I was there. That was the first one I think that got broadcasted to the States.
Now this is after you'd fought in the UFC, after you'd won the title. Were you completely done? I mean, you had another fight in the WFA after that. Like, what was it like being there in Pride during the glory days? And you know, did you think about making comebacks? Because I know there was some talk.
No, I did. It was 2 times. 2 times. One time it was against Vanderlei Silva.
Yeah.
Because they needed an opponent for him. That was at the event, that Dynamite event. 91,500 people, man, live, outside, crazy. You know, and they couldn't find an opponent. And I said, listen, I didn't roll for a long time because I had problems. I said, but everybody wants to see a strike anyway. Why? And there was also, at the same card, was K1. You remember Jerome Labena was fighting Don Fry, K1 rules. Mm-hmm. So I said, so why don't we do K1 rules with MMA gloves? I mean, that's what the people want to see anyway, you know, from us too. But then that fight didn't go through. They took somebody else.
Shit.
And yeah, that would have been awesome, man. Because at that time, man, I was hurting like the guy who holds the Thai pads. I mean, he would have purple arms. He was going, my God, this is no fun anymore, you know, because I was in shape. You know, I had a real good stamina.
Fuck, that would have been a great fight.
Yeah.
You against Vanderlei, holy shit, a pure stand-up fight.
And then when Ken came to Pride, I was the first one to say, I come out of retirement if I can find him. But Ken said, no, we did it already twice. We don't need to do it the third time.
Really? So he declined to fight in Pride with you?
Yeah, that's what he came personally to tell me. He says, boss, I told him that I didn't want to do it because we already fought 2 times.
What does that mean?
Yeah, I know.
And you fought in Pancrase. You never fought in MMA.
I would have loved, but also at that time I was a totally different fighter. Like Ken's fight against me made me who I am. That fight was like literally God was watching and he says, okay, I give you this one guy to train with in Holland. 19-year-old Leon van Dyke, freaking monster. He did on a machine with 275 pounds, he would do curls. It was bizarre. I would have him in an armbar and I better do 2 hands because he literally would just start doing this. It was insanely strong. And I started training him. Both we didn't know anything. And we would watch tapes. I would watch tapes. And I would see a heel hook, for instance. I would write down how it works. Next day we start rolling. I would go heel hook. Whoop, I go heel hook. I say, okay, now let's break this down. Let's see how we can make it better. Say, okay, how can you escape? Well, if I push this way, okay, so how can I stop you from doing this? And we start breaking down every little thing. I say, okay.
So you basically did it by yourself from scratch.
Everything.
No,
everything.
No high-level instruction at all.
Nothing. Wow. I did everything myself, and you know, and that's the cool part because one time I got a phone call when my big DVDs of combat come out, and that was at the time when BJ fought Matt Hughes, all the way back, and BJ called me and I say, hey boss, it's BJ. He said, BJ Penn? Yeah. I said, wow. I say, where do I owe this pleasure for? He says, I just want to tell you, you made the best instructions that I've ever seen. I said, man, that is so cool. He says, I got to go. I got to do my run. I said, whoa, can I use your quote? You see, but that's cool stuff. And I realized also that a lot of people, a lot of fighters took everything straight out of jiu-jitsu and they put it into mixed martial arts. And a lot of stuff straight out of jiu-jitsu doesn't work in mixed martial arts because it needs to be more compact. Like the sleeve will take care that it's harder for you to roll out of an armbar. So that's why with armbars with me, I always control the inside of the hand. So you can't rotate your hand. Whatever armbar pretty much I do, it's always control, because I don't want it to rotate. You know, and with heel hooks, and we start breaking everything down. And then I say, okay, if I would tap him, for instance, with an armbar from the mount, I'm just making something up. He would, after 3 times, he would know my setup. So I would create a different way to go to that armbar. He would find that one out, and then I would create a different way. So then suddenly I start for every move, I start having 3 or 4 different ways to go to that submission, and then I start tossing those around.
That seems so crazy. It's like you had to learn jiu-jitsu on your own. Like
on my own.
You had to figure it out. Like look at how people were doing it and deconstruct
and doing it. And then my next 8 fights, I trained for 3 months, I think. 2 times a day. Sometimes I would wake up at night, would call him, and we would go around. Hey, that guy was always game, always. And we would train. And my next 8 fights, I won by submission.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So when did you ever get real, legitimate jiu-jitsu instruction? Did you get some in America?
Never.
Wow. Your whole career, you're self-taught?
Yeah, everything.
That's cool.
Wow.
And the cool part, and I always say this because I'm very proud of it, and that's why I'm saying it, is if you look at the record, in Pancrase, they had rope escapes, right? That means that if you could get in a choke, but you could touch the rope, he had to let you go.
It's ridiculous.
But on the other side, it's really good for you as a fighter to develop, because now you have to be more strategical. Now you have to make sure that you have him in the center of the ring before you go. So then again, if you're going to miss it, you're in the center of the ring. So there's more thinking with. Sometimes I want to fight with like 4 submissions. So instead of going out there, I had now 4 submission victories pretty much in one fight. And I think that's why the Pancrase guys were so good in the UFC. I think 6 or 7 guys from Pancrase became all UFC champion because of that rule. I truly believe. I know it's crazy. I always said as long as I don't have to escape, because if I escaped, for me that would feel like a loss. But I didn't. You see, so
even allowing them to escape to you, it's good because it just means you get more submission work in.
Yeah, I have another fight now. You see what I mean? So you have more fights.
So you feel like you won already, and now let's do it again.
Let's do it again. And then if you look at the ways I submitted people, you can call a submission, okay, a go-go plata I didn't do, but you can come up with some crazy stuff. I put it every heel hook, normal heel hook, inverted, knee bar, triangle, choke triangle, armbar, figure fours.
How many fights did you have over in Pancrase?
31.
31?
Yeah.
Holy shit. Over the course of how many years?
That was only over the course of 5 years. I fought the first year, I fought 9 fights, and the second 9 again. And then the night 8 again. I mean, I was on a high go. I fought that in a pretty short time.
So by the time you got to the UFC, you had a shitload of fights. Like all the Muay Thai fights, all the Pancrase fights, and then finally you got to fight MMA style.
Finally, because I wanted to go to the UFC for the entrance song. I kid you not. I thought that was the coolest thing.
The old original.
dun, 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 dun. And then from Eindhoven, Holland, you know, and I go, I want to come up with that song. That is so cool. And that really, they came ask me. I said, but that was the deciding factor that I said, okay, I want to do it. Because I just loved that song. And then
they promoted the shit out of you when you first came.
Oh, I remember that.
I gave you one of the posters.
Yeah.
Brian sold it on eBay. I used to have the old posters. The world's best martial artist.
Greatest martial artist. Yeah. But it was cool, and I had a great idea. I had the three tenors, you know, Pavarotti and all these guys. They had this. They did a tour, and on one of those tracks is "I Like to Be in America," and it's a 43-second clip. And I told him, I said, oh, I'd like to be in America, you know. And I thought, okay, please let me put on that clip for 43 seconds, and then the UFC tune comes up. I mean, I'm going to score here in America, right?
That's hilarious. You were so worried about your opening music.
Oh, man, that was it. For every fighter, I always got that. That's why. Did you read the script already for Kevin's movie?
No, I haven't read it.
Oh, okay, because you're in it, right?
Yeah.
So it's really fun.
Kevin James, who you don't know, who's trained with you a bunch of times, right?
Yeah. He did.
He's a very talented martial artist.
He really is. People gonna.
They don't know. The people who are talking a lot of shit, like Kevin James, the comedian, he's gonna do a UFC movie. Kevin James can hit the fucking shit out of the pads.
Really?
I see him.
You're gonna freak.
When I was in Boston, when I was doing that Zookeeper movie with him, we trained with Mark Delagrante, and I was like, God damn, dude, his fucking technique is crisp.
And you know what? If I say, okay, you need to open your hip a little bit more, he'll do it the next time.
He's a very smart dude.
Yeah, he is. He really is. He hates it when we say this because he said, "Oh, I don't want people, you know." It's He's a very humble guy.
He is for such a successful guy. He's very humble.
I met him when he lived on that apartment on Overland, in a one-bedroom apartment which he shared with another guy.
Yeah.
And now he lives in a house. Yeah, you know where he lives.
Yeah.
And then you go like, he's the same dude.
Same guy.
I've
known Kevin since he was basically an open micer. I was the one who talked my manager into signing him.
Oh, wow.
He had only been doing comedy just like me. We were both basically open micers. We had done a little bit of professional work, but I mean, we've been doing comedy 2-3 years. You're really an open micer that's getting paid. You're an amateur, basically. That's when Kevin and I met. We met in like, 91 maybe, 92.
Yeah, he said that you and he would watch the Pancrase fights all together.
Yeah. He used to come over to my house in Encino. We would watch them, man. I had a buddy of mine from Canada who would get them from Japan. He had a connection in Japan. So he would get them. They would send them to Canada, and then he would send them from Canada to me, and then we would watch them at my house. I got all Japanese commentary. You know, I watched all of them. I watched, I'd get a stack of them every month.
Yeah.
This was before I was even working for the UFC. This was, before I ever even started thinking about doing commentary.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were just fans.
That's how did you ever get in there? Because you went from Fear Factor.
Before that, I started working in '97. Before you came to the UFC, I'd done the post-fight interviews for about 2 years. I started at UFC 12, Dothan, Alabama, Vitor Belfort's debut.
Okay.
And I did it then. I was on news radio, and what happened was they just needed a guy to do the post-fight interviews. They didn't have anybody, and my manager was friends with the same guy who signed Kevin. My manager was friends with the guy who was one of the producers of the show, this guy Campbell McLaren, who was also the guy who tried to get me to fight Wesley Snipes one day. So they needed someone to do the post-fight interviews, and so he just sent me to fucking Alabama out of nowhere, and before you know it, it was very unorganized though. It's not like the UFC today. I did it for, maybe 2 years, but I saw a lot of great fights. Shamrock versus Zinoviev. I saw Randy Couture's debut, Vitor Belfort's debut, Dan Henderson's debut. I mean, I was there for a lot of great fights. But it started to cost me money, so I quit. It was like I would make more money doing comedy than that. So it was a little too. And I was on news radio at the time, the sitcom. So I was too busy. So I quit. And then when the UFC came along, when Zuffa purchased the UFC, then I started working for them. That was 2000.
But and when did you Fear Factor? That was at that time also?
Yeah, Fear Factor was 2001, I believe it started, and I was already on Fear Factor when I started working for the UFC. I did it as a favor. The first, I think, 8 shows I did for free.
Yeah.
I just said, they wanted me to do commentary, and I was like, all right, I'll do it. I'll sit in there. I'll do that. And I was just talking, Yeah, really, honestly, I shouldn't have been paid for the first ones. I wasn't very good at it.
Yeah, no, but still, that's the same as fighting. In the beginning, you don't care about money. but until suddenly
Yeah.
you go like, okay, well, I actually should get paid for it.
Well, then it became, the thing that I enjoyed most. I mean, it's like stand-up comedy I enjoy the most. I'll always be a fan of mixed martial arts, even when I'm not doing. If I retire one day and stop doing commentary, I'm always going to watch the fights.
Yeah.
I'm always going to be a fan. But I'm always going to do stand-up comedy as a profession. So that's my number one thing. But other than that, all the things that I've ever done in my life, like UFC or a Fear Factor or a News Radio or. The UFC is the greatest fucking job ever. I mean, I love it.
It's I always loved it also in Japan. I always say to Maru, I would say, Maru, we're the only 2 in 6 billion right now who see freaking Fedor versus Crow Cop.
Yeah.
Or Fedor and Nogueira. Those epic fights. And Vanderlei Silva annihilating, Sakuraba. Like, wow. Crazy stuff. And
You
it's
were
like,
there for some prime fights. Pride for people who don't know, weren't aware of Pride. Pride in the heyday was one of the best, if not the best, organization in the world because they had so many different rules. First of all, they had a lot of things that I like. They had 10 minutes for the first round. I like that because then a lot of times a guy would take a guy down with 5 minutes into the fight, and then the round would end. And he was just starting to impose his part of the game. But in the Pride rules, they would give him a full 10-minute first round, and they allowed soccer kicks and stomps. I mean, it was a lot more brutal. And no elbows on the ground.
No elbows.
So you had less cuts.
That's it. That's what I always say. I'd rather have them allow knees on the ground, and get away from the cuts. Yeah, we know. How many knockouts did you see with an elbow, right? 5?
Yeah.
If that?
Yeah.
Ever?
Well, it's a good weapon. I mean, look, John Jones, when he used it on Brandon Vera, I mean, he broke his orbital bone.
Oh, yeah, no, but that's then one of the 5. Name the other 4.
Yeah,
You see?
not that many. But a lot of fights get stopped by cuts, and a lot of guys.
And I hate
cut
that
open.
because on the street you wouldn't stop if you get cut. You keep on fighting. It's not a real win. I mean, there's guys who make careers out of it.
But still, it's such an effective weapon. I feel like you can't take it away either because it's so good. It's a good technique.
But, okay, maybe what they should do is but again,
Could they pad the elbow?
Yeah, so something around it that at least it doesn't cut. I'm totally for it if you knock him out, man. I'm the biggest guy, but not like laying on somebody and literally do this. They don't even load him up.
Right.
They just rub him, and then they get cut and they win the fight. Yeah, I won the fight. No, you didn't win the fight.
Right.
For me, you didn't win that fight.
Do you think they could solve that with a neoprene sleeve on the elbow? Maybe would that
The
solve
problem
it?
is, it's like these crazy Muay Thai things that they have around. That always starts moving and around. It's going to be annoying. People got to, maybe surgically they have to implant one.
Surgically implant a pad over your elbow.
Man, it's hot here or not?
Yeah, it's you. You're all fired up.
Yeah, this is awesome. I like this.
So you did 2 fights in the UFC after you won the title with Randleman. What made you stop?
Pain. That neck injury, I brought it all the way to the Randleman fight. And it was still not gone. It was hurting. I couldn't sleep. I was on sleeping pills for such a long time because of the pain. There was always pain in my neck. And then I said, you know what, I'm going to... So I tore a biceps, like throwing a left hook in the air, pack. I go, oh my God, what's going on now? I start breaking down. And then I started, I didn't do anything. Then I started training, like 3 years after that. I started training, and it started going good. And the ground started going good, and, okay, everything feels good. And then I stopped. And then, like 2 years later... 2.5 years later, that's when they called me for the WFA. If I was interested, they offered me a lot of money, and apparently what happened. This was funny also because Kimo Leopoldo, to him he says, who do you want to fight? And I said, Hickson. That was the first I said Hickson.
Right.
They said we don't have the money for that. It's never going to happen. I said okay. Then
Hickson's crazy, right? He wants millions. And
yeah,
millions
that was at the time, and I was just want to see what you can do against him, right? And so they.
By the way, that would have been another awesome fight.
That would have been an awesome fight,
Holy
man.
shit!
Yeah.
You against Vanderlei or you against Hickson?
Yeah,
Holy
that would have been great. Yeah, that's a shame. Anyway, then I said, I don't know. I don't.
So you fought
anything.
Villarreal.
So no. They said Kimo Leopoldo.
tested positive for steroids.
Yeah, but when they said Kimo Leopoldo, I said, "Are you sure?" I said, "Man, I just hang out with him in Japan. When he fought in Japan, it's kind of weird." I said, "No, he actually wants to fight you." I said, "Oh, cool." So then, when we had the photo shoot, I go to the photo shoot, and he's there, and he's acting all weird, like giving me a hand, but like shying away. And I go like, "Wow, he's taking his this fight very serious, right? I mean, what's going on?" "Oh yeah, we told him that you specifically asked for him." I said, "Why would you do that?" You know, that's not true. And then I thought, you know what? Am I going to tell him? But then I thought, no, I'm not going to tell him. Because if I tell him, you know, then maybe he's not going to train as hard. I wanted to have a tough fight, you know, so I thought he's angry, he's going to train harder, it's going to be an awesome fight. And then I thought, that was my crazy mind, I say, on the day of the fight, I would deliver a letter to him in the dressing room saying exactly what I just said. So he would read, like, I knew this already, but I didn't want to tell you because I wanted you to be 100% before you fight me and full of stamina because you're going to need it. And I think that would be totally backfiring right away just before you fight. So that was the setup to play. And then, yeah, he got tested positive. So that was.
So then Ruben had to take his place.
Ruben took his. No, there were a lot of guys. Tank Abbott didn't want to do it, and then there's a bunch of guys they went over because I said anybody. They came up with that because I didn't.
So Ruben was just the only one who was willing to take the fight.
Yeah.
Now, when you were over there in Japan and you were there for all those great fights like Nogueira versus Crow Cop and Nogueira versus Fedor, and what was that like sitting there ringside? I mean, did you want to just fucking jump in there sometimes?
Oh, you get crazy. You
were over there for some of the greatest fights ever.
Ever. And nobody can take that away from you. That's what they said with my fights also. I won 2 fights, the first 2 fights in Pancrase, and one guy in Holland says, he says, "Bas," everybody was saying, "Oh, he's going to lose, he's going to lose, he's going to lose," you know, like a very negative public country. And one guy says, "Bas, whatever happens, they never take this away from you anymore. So lock this up. You got this, you know." And that's with those fights also. That's something that you carry on with the rest of your life. They were great moments, and to interview those guys, you know, to reenact with them and do crazy stuff. And then when I and Quattro start doing these crazy openings, you know, these funny
those were fun, man. I liked those. Now, who didn't like those? Because they pulled those things out. That was
Jerry Millen came in.
Oh, that guy.
Yeah, you know, he was suddenly everything needed to be the same as boxing. And I go, why? We're going to be the same as everybody else. You know, let it be like.
How many fights did you do over there in Pride? How many cards?
Oh God, I don't know. I mean, but when they started Bushido, also, I was there 12 times a year. Every month, I was like 5, 6 times. I have no clue. But
so during the heyday, it must have been completely insane. I mean, I heard stories about guys getting paid with stacks of money.
Stacks of money. It was crazy. All crisp, all numbers exactly in a row. I mean, if they would walk in there with guns, but yeah, then again, you don't want to do that, I guess. Yeah. There's a lot of money there.
Japan is run by the Yakuza, right? That's the whole deal with Pride and all these organizations. They're basically, and that's accepted. That's a part of Japanese culture, right? Is that just how it works?
No. It's not accepted. Because when it came out, then it was over, right? Then because then the TV said, "No, we don't want to be associated with it," and they pulled the money out. Or was it?
Was that just because it was made public? But it was already known, right?
I think it was made public. I gotta forget this. It was a pass from Joe Rogan for a buddy of mine.
Oh yeah, I gave my UFC pass for a buddy.
Yeah, that's cool.
Is that your phone that keeps going off?
I have no clue. Let me see. Oh, my battery's too low for use. Okay, good. I'll turn it out.
So when you were over there, though, when you were watching all these classic fights, I mean, like I said, you'd been there for, you were there for Shogun Mark Coleman, you were there for Shogun versus Rampage, Rampage versus Arona. I mean, some of the greatest fights of all time.
Rampage, the things that we did with Rampage, how, you know, I remember my first, when he fought Sakuraba and he lost that fight, I took him to the side. I say, "Listen, you got it, man. You got this thing. They love you." I say, make sure this doesn't happen anymore, because they actually had to get him out of jail to get that fight. There was a whole stress thing going on because he had a warrant out of him or something, and he was at the airport, and they got him and they put him in jail.
Really?
Yeah, but then the Pride people started talking. They got him out. They made pictures of it. He's standing in front of the jail. It was on the cover of all the newspapers. He's standing there with his big chain, you know, and that was Quinton. He came in.
Now the Pride, what was going on back then at that time was Pride was a mainstream Japanese sensation. It was huge in mainstream Japan, right? It wasn't like mixed martial arts in America back then was not nearly as successful as it is today.
A small show was 43,000 people.
God damn.
Yeah, and they would sell out all the time. The biggest show, 91.5. Tokyo Dome, 55, 60,000. I mean, it was crazy.
And you would go out on the street and you would get mobbed. It was
Everywhere,
success.
everybody, yeah.
So what happened? What happened over there? Because it stopped being like that.
It stopped being like because of that.
Because of the Yakuza.
Yeah, when the TV pulled everything out, it was over. That's when everything went down the drain.
But it was so successful, so many people liked it. I couldn't imagine that someone else wouldn't come along.
No. I think the main reason of this is Sakuraba started to lose. You like an organization in Japan, in order to be successful, they need
a Japanese star.
A star. And where you're gonna fight, good luck to find another Sakuraba who beat 4 Gracies. Now, unbelievable fighter, you know. But it is K1 never got big in America. Why? They don't have an American champion.
Right.
They have an American champion in America, K1. But that guy doesn't do good at the final tournament.
Right.
So, but once an American guy is going to win in Japan, you watch, then K1 becomes very interesting for the people. And it's logic, you know. You want to root for your own guy.
That's funny though, because Horace Gracie, when he won in America, he was a hugely popular guy, and he's from Brazil.
Yeah.
I think if they had K1 over in America, I just think people, Dana White and I had a conversation about this when he was talking about how kickboxing has a negative stigma in America because of PKA karate, the old boring kickboxing that they used to have on ESPN.
8 kicks above the waist or something like that. Otherwise,
well, you couldn't even kick low.
Yeah.
You couldn't kick low at all. Very few of the. I mean, they would show you a low kick fight. They would allow like special rules or something.
Special rule, Dutch rules.
Yeah, but for the most part, it was like they would wear those big stupid slippers on their feet.
Yeah.
They wouldn't really kick. It wasn't exciting. It wasn't nearly as exciting as boxing or Muay Thai. But the K1 now, like if you watch the Grand Prix now,
That's bizarre.
so
the best
exciting.
show ever.
So exciting.
Best show.
And Max as well. The K1 Max, the
Everything.
lighterweight guys.
Man, it's,
Giorgio Petrosian. I mean, shit.
It's unbelievable, right?
Tell me that guy couldn't be a star in America, or Alistair especially. I mean,
Yeah, but the thing is, in the beginning, it will work. But eventually, people want to see an American champion.
Well, I think maybe if it was really big and successful over here, you would have some Americans that would do well, but they would have to know that that's a legitimate avenue for a profession. Guys like Pat Barry. Guys who are real serious fucking strikers. There's not that many of them.
There is not. No, there's really not. And
in America, it's just there's no venue. They have to go out of the country to get like real high level.
It's
fights.
very hard. It's very. Maurice Smith would say, he was at the top of the pyramid at the time, and he didn't make it over there. So then they go like, okay, but because who was going to beat Maurice Smith in America? Nobody, right?
Right.
I mean,
yeah. Maurice, he was another interesting guy when he first came to the UFC. I was there for his debut. I was there when he fought Mark Coleman. Nobody gave him a chance. Everybody thought Maurice is going to get killed.
Yeah.
And I remember backstage, he's so relaxed.
Yeah.
He was hanging out and goofing around and laughing. I'm like, does this guy know he's going to go get fucking
Ground and pounded,
by the biggest guy in the game? Mark Coleman was a fucking
monster.
destroyer back then. But Maurice it was the first guy to have like that real high level cardio. It was the first guy that just not get tired. He knew Mark was going to get tired.
Yep.
And
I fought him Twice.
Maurice and Pancrase, right? You submitted him, didn't you?
Yeah, twice.
Yeah.
It was fun. The best one was the first time I'm standing here and he makes a kick. I go, punch him. And he goes, whoa, fast. And right away, I give him a high kick. Poof. And it's on his defense. It's like very close. So I think, oh, cool, I'll make another one. And right away, I make a switch kick. And I kick and I slip and I fall on the ground. And he wants to jump on top of me. And I go, wait. He stops, and I get up, and I go, thanks.
So when you said wait, he just listened to you?
Yeah, you got to see that fight. You're going to laugh. It's the funniest thing. Hey, it's legal, right?
That's hilarious.
Yeah, that was hilarious. That was funny. And then he tried to take my back. This was the coolest. I did a knee bar, upside down knee bar. I'm on my head, feet up, knee barring him. I'm standing against the ropes, and he's trying to get my back.
So you just dove down on a knee bar.
That's it. I go like, okay, get my back. So right away when he did, I dove in, but he grabs the ropes. So I'm standing upside down on the top of my head and have the knee bar. And he's tapping in the ropes. He's rope escaping.
Wow.
Yeah, that was wild.
man, you were really there for some crazy times. What is it like now, going from like your very beginnings, where there was no mixed martial arts, where you went over there, you literally had no idea what it was like, to seeing what it's like now, you know, with like Cain Velasquez and all these guys, you know, John Jones.
It's unbelievable. You have to understand that when I came from Thai boxing, right, you get weight classes. It's like in boxing. So I came to Japan, and the first thing I see is my opponent who's 245 pounds, and I'm 195. So I go like, okay, but I didn't want to show anything, of course, because, okay, this is what it is, right? You got to fight. So I go, okay, cool. I say, how many rounds? I say, 1 round. I say, awesome. How many minutes? 30. I say, awesome. But I didn't think inside, awesome. I go, 30 minutes. I'm going to fight 30 minutes. You know, that's why I put those R's on my hand. Right, to stay relaxed, because I'm such a hothead.
Oh, that's what the R stood for?
Yeah, relax. Yeah, in Holland, it's rustig. Starts with an R also. So it's coincidentally is the same.
I thought it was for Rutten.
No. For rustig, stay calm.
That's cool.
Every time when I get hit, you hear my corner. You listen to the fights. You go, stay calm, because they know I want to. That's why in Holland we're all first round knockouts. I would come out very technical. Pop, boom, tak, 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 boom.
As soon as you get hit, you get crazy.
Oh, I get crazy. So I figured, I said, man, if I'm going to fight a guy like Rocky Marciano, you know, who can take a lot of punishment, but then come back, and I got 28 more minutes to go. Whoa, we're going to shoot load. I don't want to have that. So I put the 2 R's on my hand, and they would shout. They never shout an instruction. The only instruction they shout is like when I'm in a guard, I would tell them, right? This is my easiest guard escape on the planet. Imagine the guard is here, and his left foot is on top, right?
Right.
I would look at my corner, and it would go right, and I would swing back and underhook it and grab it. They would be the eyes for me. And till this day, I don't get it that nobody does this. It's the simplest thing on the planet.
To know which foot is on top.
On top, so you
that's
can
the
unlock.
one you could push up.
Yeah.
Because it's not being held
So you
down
just
by the
look at
other
them,
foot.
and they go right, and then you relax, and then whoop, whoop, pick it up.
Oh, that's hilarious. Do you do that for your guys as well?
Oh yeah, I do that also. Yeah.
You got to be careful you don't get caught in a triangle, though. No.
No, you gotta, you know that, right?
Right.
Yeah.
You gotta
This is
know
not
when
like
they explode.
while he's pulling on your arm. Right? Let's try it now. No, time and place.
How crazy is it watching the evolution of the game? We literally, in America, there has never been a sport like mixed martial arts that has exploded and changed and grown right before our eyes. I mean, some sports got famous, like skateboarding and, you know, BMX riding. I mean, some stuff that wasn't a viable way to make a living when I was a kid became one. But nothing like mixed martial arts, where it was just constantly in the public eye in movies and jammed down your throat on television. I mean, it's pretty fucking strange, isn't it?
I predicted it right away after my first fight. They did an interview with me, and I said, this is like a rollerball, that movie. This people gonna need like an outlet, you know, and this is it. This is gonna be very big. I say, you watch in 4 years from now. Oh no. Yeah, I said that 4 years from now, this will be the biggest thing. And it was like 7 years later or something. I was like way off in time, but eventually it got there. I go like, what is better than this? I knew at that time already that everybody likes to know who's the toughest guy on the planet. And this is literally being the toughest guy. I was on Inside MMA last week, and I was ashamed about a comment that I made against Frank, because we had a comment that one guy says, MMA is just like 2 guys rubbing against each other on the floor. And then I told him the story that I was fighting Frank, and that I stood up and I said to Frank, come up. He says, no, you come down. I said, no, come up, fight like a man. You know, and I go, I'm eating those words right now, because when I broke that guy's shin bone, because I had no clue how much power that was on that joint, you know, that really started to make me think. And I go, you have to understand it. The ground guy can break whatever he wants in your body. You got so much dominant power. If I roll with guys, my students, they rather stand with me than the ground, because on the ground they say you're there. Standing, they can move around, you know?
Right.
And they get the hell out of there. He says, but it's way harder on the ground. So I go like, wow, listen, I can dislocate, break, snap. I can do whatever I want. If I say, okay, your right arm is going to go, your right arm is going to go to any guy on the street. You know? I mean, talking about power compared to knocking somebody out. You know, I can put you to sleep, and I can do some crazy things with you.
It's a very strange thing. The jiu-jitsu that just came out of nowhere. I mean, when I was a kid, it was all about striking. There was no one ever took judo.
Yeah.
I wrestled in high school, but, you know, I just did it as a sport. you know, and I got bored with it quick because it just didn't seem like there's anything going on. You held the guy down, but it wasn't submitting him. And once jiu-jitsu came along, man, it's amazing how much it's evolved. You look at like MMA, you look at the jiu-jitsu that was in MMA in '93, and look at the jiu-jitsu you see now with like Jacare, Damian Maia. You know, it's fucking so many levels above it.
The thing is, what I always say, I said all the moves are pretty much invented, right? But it's the setups. They found such a creative ways to go to a particular move. That is the cool part about mixed martial arts now. If you have that setup that nobody noticed yet, you see how many times you see. Remember the first time the Anaconda got introduced at Pride? You know, the guy from the Garris camp? And they said, we call this Anaconda. That was Nogueira told me.
Yeah.
Because nobody saw the freaking thing before. Boom, everybody started landing Anacondas.
Yeah.
You know, Darce joke, same thing. Boom, suddenly there's the Darce, you know. Oh, you can do it on the other. Instead of the armpit, you go to the... You see, so people start playing with it. And they create these different ways. Like Dean Lister against what is the Italian guy?
Alessio Sakara.
Sakara. The way he set that triangle choke up. I mean, wow, that was so cool. It was so sneaky, slowly but surely, and then bloop. You know, you go like, that is cool.
Lister's a master.
It's unbelievable, right?
Guy. Yeah, I mean, Lister, if Dean Lister was around the early UFCs, nobody had jiu-jitsu like him in '93. You know, even Hoist Gracie didn't. His jiu-jitsu was very basic. It wasn't nothing like, you know, the jiu-jitsu that you see today. You know, there's a few guys that they say when they compare jiu-jitsu, they say, you know, like Hickson is a perfect example. People today, even high-level black belts that roll with him, just say that guy is on another level. There's just a few guys that are just, you know, Ricardo Laborio is another one they say about that. He's just on another level. There's just such a high level of jiu-jitsu. But overall, the level of jiu-jitsu from the new guys like the Marcelo Garcias, you know, these new guys coming along, it's so high level. It's so much more advanced than it was just 10, 15 years ago, you know?
You know what the cool thing is with Laborio? He saw me rolling with Joachim Hansen in China. And he was watching there, and then he started showing me things, and I said what he could do with those particular leg locks and how he could do this and make it that stronger. And he was sitting, looking at me, and he was like, whoa. I said, oh, you thought I was a striker, right? And he go, I didn't know. And then it's finished that he wanted me to come to American Top Team to teach a ground fighting seminar.
Oh, that's fun.
That is cool stuff.
Well, it's good to have a fresh perspective. You know, I mean, you never know. Everybody has their own way of doing things.
That's it.
You haven't seen it before.
That's it.
You know, there's so many different techniques. What people don't understand that don't do jiu-jitsu. There's so many different techniques that are available. It's like it's like chess if you had a million pieces. You know, there's so many different submissions and so many different transitions and chains of submissions and new techniques and new counters and
but I believe in. It's good to know them all, but I mean, but for every fight you have to say, okay, I'm going to use these particular moves for that guy. I don't go crazy on this dude because, you know, and then have those different setups. That is the key, man. I would set up 1 to 4 and you go from 1 to 4 to 2 to back to 1 to boom, caught.
Well, there's some guys like Jake Shields Jake Shields is very basic. He doesn't do a lot of different techniques. Rear naked choke, armbar, guillotine choke, but he just fucking gets them.
Yeah,
you know?
and he knows it.
Yeah, his path to those techniques is so sharp.
Yep.
What do you think? So, what do you think about guys today? Like when you look at these guys today, and you know, do you ever wish like, man, did you ever say like, I came along too late? Like, why?
Yeah.
Why
on one side, yeah, but you know, I always go with the glasses half full with me. You know, I'm in a great position right now, man. I mean, I got a movie coming up with a big part for this, you know, the Kevin James comedy. You know, I got the TV show. My wife predicted that one also, by the way.
What TV show is it, though? The Inside MMA?
Inside MMA.
Yeah.
I mean, this is like, this is our 4th year. It's crazy.
It's nice.
You know, and my wife, when she predicted that I was going to be a fighter in Japan, and I said, no, because I'm not going to fight. She says, yeah, in Holland, you're going to go to Japan. Watch. 6 months later, I'm in Japan. Then 2 years into that, she looks at me weird again. I said, now what? She says, we're going to go to America. You're going to be in TV business. Swear to God.
How would you ever get a part of the Grand Theft Auto? Like the men's room was probably one of the funniest things
best,
ever.
right?
Yeah, are you going to ever do another one?
What is it? I haven't seen it.
Go on YouTube.
He has a show.
Yeah,
he has a show inside the Grand Theft Auto. I would just sit there to watch his show inside the video game.
Is it on YouTube?
Oh yeah.
Cue it up.
Yeah, Bas Rutten GTA 4. That was insane. These guys from bar fighting, they saw it. And what they did, they gave me a script. I said, can I tweak this thing? And they say, sure. So I would start building sentences. And in the middle of the sentence, I would stop and then restart it. So it looks like I'm a total freaking psycho when I'm talking. It's like really weird because it doesn't work. And the result, when you see the result, is one of my finer work, man. Yeah. I had to send people out there. I say, you can, because they were cracking up so hard.
It was beautiful.
Out of all the guys who have fought, though, you're the very best, in my opinion, at transitioning into a career outside of fighting. And you do inside MMA, you do commentary. You're always doing so. By the way, you and Michael Schiavello, when you did the commentary for Strikeforce for the undercard, was the fucking best part of the night. I loved it. I loved it. You guys need to do it together. I love Schiavello. I think he's fucking hilarious. You guys together were awesome. Somebody really needs to scoop you up and have you guys do more commentary.
Yeah, you know, I loved doing it, but this right now, you know, this is one of those things that I thought I would never say, but I'm so busy. Right. I don't have the time for it anymore. But anytime I have a chance, like for instance, now I'd go to Brussels, you know, and then I do this just like 3 days before I have to go to Boston to shoot. They said, why do you do it? You don't need to do it. I say, yeah, but I enjoy it. I enjoy it so much to go there. And there I'm also the ring announcer. And they let me free. I can slap the girls. I do, you know, I do fun stuff, you know.
What is Brussels? Is it a mixed martial arts fight?
Mixed martial arts and a K1 tournament. You know, both at the same time. Saki is fighting.
I've seen they had one before, right?
Yeah, also on Inside MMA.
Yes, yeah. Inside MMA, by the way, if you don't have HDNet, you're missing out. HDNet is the best for watching fights. There's always K1, K1 Max. They have 100 different, you know, MFCs on, 100 different mixed martial arts organizations. Fights from Japan, fights from Europe. It's really incredible.
It's weird.
And that's where Inside MMA, your show's on as well.
I love it. And the thing I love about it is I see my old buddies again, whether they're still fighting or they're now coaches from guys. And then I see the new talent coming up, you know, and we all have them on the show, you know. Who would have thought you're going to get a Bozzy award? You know, like you can win a Bozzy if you have the greatest knockout of the year or something. How cool is that, you know? We really want to start doing that thing, I think, in the front of a live audience. That would be cool to do also. But it's really getting there. We never thought it was going to go like that. You know, and it just exploded. From the half-hour show, we went right away to an hour, and now commercials are there. So that means we're doing a good thing with the hottest show on HDNet.
Yeah, Inside MMA is great. It's a really, really fun show to watch. Now, what about guys that you know that you started out with that have taken a lot of damage? You know, I mean, you didn't take damage. You took damage to your body like you have tendinitis, but you have no problem with your thinking.
No.
You know, but what is it like when you see guys that do? Because it disturbs the shit out of me.
Really, it's really sad. I know a few guys that, you know, start lisping, and it's scary stuff. You know, the like Arlovsky fight now. You know, Andre.
Yeah.
You know, I love this guy. He's a really nice guy. Somebody, I know he wants to fight, and he already wants to prepare for the next fight. I think somebody should say, you know what? Let's not do it.
What do you think about Greg Jackson saying that he's going to get right back in there? They're just going to fix it, and he did some things wrong, but he's not done, and he's going to come back. It'll be even sweeter than ever. And I'm listening to him talking. I'm like, motherfucker, do you know that this guy's been knocked unconscious 4 times in a row?
You can kill everything for the rest.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, maybe he's not going to be a teacher anymore. Nothing but mixed martial arts. That's the bad thing also is, like, your legacy is going down. When you're going to be a coach, you're going to go to a gym to train with a guy who lost his last 7 fights. Imagine you're a guy like that.
Right. 4 by knockout in a row.
I'm not. There was not Arlovsky. I'm talking about, but Arlovsky right now. Yeah. So, you know, they should. What I said. What they should do. Should tell him, okay, you know what you're not going to fight for a year. And in between, we're going to do some grappling tournaments to keep the competition on there. And you're busy. And it doesn't matter if you win all those. Who cares about that? Just be busy with competition so you perform under pressure. And then if everything feels good, you know, then maybe try it one more time. But then really say, okay, if this is going to go the wrong way, you really got to stop.
Well,
like
he took
Ken
about
Shamrock.
a year off from the Brett Rogers fight, didn't he?
Yeah, but in my book, if I was my student, it was no.
Yeah.
I would say, no, this is
He's been shut off too many times.
Yeah,
right?
because I don't want to be that nail in the coffin that's going to say, God knows what happens.
What about a guy like Alistar that got stopped a bunch of times?
Yeah.
I mean, Alistar got stopped, like, I think 9 times in his career. Bobby Hoffman knocked him out. Chuck Liddell knocked him out. So many guys stopped him. And then, look at him now. I mean, he's the greatest comeback ever.
I know, but you see this fighting style, how he fights. He doesn't throw. I was looking at, so let it go. Make 3-4 shots, pop, pop, pop. But he doesn't do that. Everything is single shots. His defense is perfect. Boom, boom, boom. Watch. You know, there's no 3 right uppercut, left hook. He's very good, and he knows, you know. Yeah, of course.
Tries not to get hit.
Tries not to get hit, and it's going to be hard for people to hit him. It's so much power.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, look. The striking is bizarre. The guy is so strong. His takedown, his defense is getting really good. He's got great submissions. Ground control is really good.
And no one
And
has
stamina.
ever been like Alistair that won the K1 Grand Prix and is a mixed martial arts champion.
Yep.
Dream and Strike
And
Force.
Strike Force. 3 belts.
Pretty fucking crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really cool stuff. That's a guy, you know, this is cool. He trained in the early days. He trained with Chris Dolman when I was training there. He and his brother, Valentine. And I would submit him. And then they're very competitive. And then if I wouldn't come over there, they suddenly would call and they say, oh, we're at your gym. We want to train now because now we're going to get you. I said, okay. And then it went again. And they say, how is that possible? I said, because I'm training too, Alistair. You know? But I always said, that's the guy. Those are the guys because they keep on coming and want more and travel for it. He wants it. And the guy who really wants it, it really is like that. It's like the book I always say, The Alchemist. You know, if you set your goal, you say, that's where I want to go. Whatever you do, you don't get off the path, you know, you are going to get it. I truly believe there's something up there that helps you for that. You know, go. Relentless. Don't walk over people, though, in order to get there. You know?
Unless you're Andrei Arlovsky and you've been knocked out 4 times in a row.
Yeah,
There's a certain
that's
point
true.
in time where
But
physically you have to stop and look at it and go, all right, what are we going to do here?
yeah, that's true. I don't know how you say this. I think
How do you tell when to tell them?
I think that people inside, deep down inside, the fighters know if they can become a champion or not. I think they already know that. When I was fighting and I started winning in Japan, when I got that ground game, I look at my wife, I say, I think I can be a world champion in this thing. I truly believe I can beat all these guys now. You know, and then it started. You know, I think you feel that. I think that a fighter will actually knows himself, they will keep on trying. But I think once you know that it's not really there, that's not a good feeling. They won't say it, but it is.
Right.
It's like the guys who you mount, you hit, they turn on the back and they get choked. A lot of these guys, they give the choke.
Speaking of that, what did you think about the Fedor fight when Fedor was fighting Bigfoot? I mean, he gave up his back a couple of times. He had to. You think that's just he was just too big?
It was too big. I truly believe so. Too big with
Too
technique.
Good, too big and too
Combination,
skilled.
yeah. And then being 60 pounds heavier, or you know, that's a big difference, man. I always said that I wanted weight class 205, 235.
Yeah, I agree.
You know,
I agree.
Right?
Yeah, I agree.
It's too big of a leap.
Yeah, those big giant guys that are cutting weight to get down to 265, that's a huge percentage. Of
They
your
said that
body
he was
moving up.
290 the next day. I said, how could you gain 25 pounds?
His fucking head looks like it's 290. Right? That guy's big.
Yeah, it's big.
When he got on top of Fedor and mounted him, you see how wide his back is? You're like, that's a giant person, man.
He got stomped by a Bigfoot, but you can see the footprint still on his back.
Poor Fedor, man. That was a tough thing to watch, and it's tougher even still to watch all those people that are behind him saying he's going to fight again. He should fight.
No. The
The
people booing when they don't let the fight continue. I say, his eye is closed.
Yeah.
He can't see anything coming from the left, you know?
At all. Yeah. and
Unreal.
It was going to be the same thing anyway. He's going to get taken down and smashed.
That was it.
Is it hard watching a guy like that? You mean you watched him enter into
Very hard.
pride and then see him get beat down like
Very
that?
hard, yeah. That does something to you. You know, that you get emotional. I do get emotional from that.
It's a crazy thing, right? But in this game, in the game of fighting, we're going to see it no matter what. I mean, I was there for Chuck Liddell's debut. I was there, for Hector Gonzalez, I think was the guy's name he fought. I forget the guy's name he fought. I was there for that. Noe Gonzalez, maybe. I was there for that fight, and then to get to see him, you know, all the way to the end, to the Rich Franklin fight. You know, it's like, wow. You know, seeing guys like at the top, at their most vibrant, when they're just dominant.
You know,
and fall apart.
with Chuck, it's a mental thing. But I always say with Chuck, if he has the right person who can talk to him, that he's too hungry. Like if he lands, if he smells the victory, he starts
chases
overcommitting.
after it, and he gets caught.
And all the knockouts he had is because of that.
Yeah.
If he would step back, relax, I mean, he was doing really good against Rich Franklin. This guy still can be the top guy. That's his only defect. With him, it's not that he lost his timing and lost that. It's only that he's too hungry. You know, he's been knocking out people too easy. You know, and that's the same. You can also see with the training when he fought Couture. You know that when he trains, he puts everybody backwards. And then suddenly when Couture came and started pushing him backwards, that was like, whoa. Now what? He never was there.
Right.
That fight made him again way better after that.
It made him a
because
better counter striker.
Oh,
yeah.
man.
Yeah, he learned how to fire him off as he was moving backwards.
One of my favorite guys still.
He was amazing.
Yeah.
But he also lost the ability to take a punch. I mean, if you go back and watch his first fights, like you ever watch the Pele fight? Where he fought
Oh,
no
my God.
rules?
Yeah, that was crazy.
That
That was
head
the
kick.
WVC, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
those
that
were
was
nuts.
bare knuckle.
Bare knuckle.
Those guys
with
are crazy.
The net underneath the rope so you couldn't escape. You get stuck in there,
Can
and
you
Chuck's on
imagine?
top of Pele, punched him in the face with bare knuckles.
People get stabbed in the eyes at the times all the time.
Dudes would grab the balls, remember?
Yeah, I was going to
Gary
say
Goodrich.
it. Goodrich.
The
The Pedro.
Yeah.
he
Reached
went
in
inside.
his pants and crushed his dick and balls.
You should have had Viagra on him.
He literally grabbed the guy by the cojones.
Yeah, what the fuck? And it was totally, completely legal.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody had ever done it but Gary. And
Vale tudo. Anything
yeah.
goes.
Yeah, that is anything goes. Were they allowed to bite, though?
I have, it's almost. I read the book from Big John because I wrote the foreword for the book. And man, that's a cool book.
What is Big John's book? What's it called?
But what do you think?
Big John McCarthy.
Yeah.
Mixed
No.
martial arts.
What is his line?
Oh, let's get it on.
Let's get it on.
But that's sort of Mills Lane's line. Mills Lane in boxing had that way before the UFC.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't even.
Fighter, you're ready. Fighter, you're ready. Let's get it on. Come on.
Okay.
That was his thing. And they had made some sort of an agreement where John was going to use it in MMA and Mills Lane was going to use it in boxing.
Okay.
But I remember when, there was some words that people were saying, only John McCarthy can say, let's get it on. Because every referee's got to figure out a thing to say.
It's Martin Gaye who was the one that started it.
Marvin Gaye, bro.
Marvin Gaye.
Who's Martin? It's his
Martin.
cousin. Yeah, well, I mean, let's get it on was
on.
the Mills Lane thing. Yeah. You've seen it all, boss. You've been there from the beginning. You're a real legend in this crazy sport.
I'm a very happy person, let me tell you that. I have a lot of pain when I walk, everything hurts, but it's been worth it. And I know that with the stem cells and everything, something will pop up, and I'll put it back. I'm not going to fight anymore, I'm also, there's also a thing that I had. When in 2006, when I made the comeback, I knew that I would roll and everything would go really well. Don't get me wrong. But there were things that I say I would have had that normally. And normally I
Right.
would have had that. I noticed that I was getting slower, and that my reactions were not there as they were before. So, you got to be very realistic to yourself.
What do you think about a guy like Randy Couture, who's older than you? I mean, how old are you now?
Yeah, but 45,
Yeah,
46.
Randy's fucking 48
40
years
or
old,
something.
and he's about to fight Machida.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
But he's got the O2 trainer, the Bas Rutten invention, the long training device.
What is the
You
O2
would.
trainer? What is
You know
it?
what? This is a fun thing, man. I
You
came up
invented
with
this?
this. Yeah. When I was 15 years old. Around that time, I had very bad asthma, but I also did track and field. So when I had an asthma attack, that would be like a 2-week episode, which from the 2 weeks, I would be like 5 or 6 days in bed because I couldn't eat and can't breathe because you can't eat.
Jesus
you can't breathe.
Christ.
Drinking like this. 24 hours a day. Like bizarre. Oh, yeah.
damn.
No, really bad. So I couldn't walk stairs, nothing. Everything in bed.
You don't
peeing in
have
bed.
any of that anymore? Nothing?
No, sometimes I
inhaler?
do. Sometimes a little bit, yeah. But you take an inhaler and it's gone. But then after I had an attack and I would do track and field, I would realize that my lungs would work better. And I go, why is that? And I start, oh, wait a minute, there's an infection in your lung pipe. It closes the lung pipe. Your lungs have to work really hard to pull that air in. Then when the infection is gone, they because they worked all the time, they're used to pulling hard, air comes in easy. I go, so why don't I come up with something that controls the air intake? So I started thinking about it's the stupidest thing, man. You're gonna laugh. I would hold my mouth in a certain position and try to memorize that position. Stupid stuff.
So you couldn't get much air in?
Yeah, and then make it every time a little smaller. I go, man, I got to come up with something. So I tell all my buddies here in America, everybody knew in Holland also that I wanted to make that thing. And then when Vanderlei came on TV with the snorkel, I think I had 6 or 7 phone calls. They said, you got to do that thing that you're talking about because somebody's going to find it out. Somebody's going to come up with an idea. So I started looking, got a patent lawyer. And what do you know, man? Nobody made it.
Cool.
I got the patent, have everything.
So what's it called? The Bas Rutten VO2 trainer?
The O2 trainer.
O2
That's why I was
trainer?
laughing because when I saw this.
C2O coconut
Yeah,
juice.
O2 trainer, and it controls the air intake. It's a very simple thing. So imagine this week you do all your hard workouts, and only 4 times also, because you don't need to do it every way because you're actually training your muscles. They're testing it in Texas right now at the university. That guy, in 12 days, he had greater lung volume. He said, man, you made something really cool. Can I put my track team on it? He's got his female track team on it. They're going to run tests on them now because he thinks also that because it's a little small biodegradable little compartment that's flexible also so you can't get hurt. Because you rebreathe a little tiny bit of carbon monoxide, which I wanted to stay away from because I don't want people to get dizzy. He says, no, you don't get dizzy.
Carbon dioxide?
Or carbon dioxide. Yeah, one of the two. Anyway, he says he thinks it's just enough to spark more red blood cell production. I said, you're kidding me. He said, I don't know for sure yet. He says, but that will be the icing on the cake.
Wow.
So what does this thing look like?
It's an, actually, I hope I still get better.
Is it online? Can I find it online?
Let me see. You go to o2trainer.com. And people who are watching right now, you can't buy it yet. It's on there, but you can't buy it yet. So don't hit buy.
o2trainer.com. Z02 or O?
The O2.
Check this out. And this is something that's going to be available soon?
Very soon, this week.
This week?
Yep.
What does it look like? Because it's not coming.
It's not coming up.
No.
You're probably getting smashed right now. You just sent.
Yeah, you said it online.
You almost have 4,000 people in Ustream.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, guys, everybody, you're watching. Don't buy it. You cannot buy it. Okay, it's not in. So don't hit buy. Come back at the end of the week. You
so it will be something that you think is going to make a big impact on guys.
I think it's going to be the major impact
because you can't look at it. Describe what it looks like.
Okay, it is. It is a portable device. It's a mouthpiece like when you dive, like a snorkel, right. And it comes to the front with two little things. It's like a square. And it comes to the front. Here is the air hole as a cap. The cap you can take off, and you can put screens in there, little rubber screens with all smaller holes. They go from 14 millimeter all the way to 1 millimeter. So this week you train all your hard work at 14 millimeter. Next week you do 13. Then you do 12, and you go slowly but gradually. You're going down, and then once you're down, you really your lungs have to pull the air in. And it's the voice. My wife was saying, like, after 3 weeks of training in restaurants, she said, man, keep your voice down, because your voice gets really loud. So I go, man, it's for singers, it's for people who play blow instruments, it's for scuba divers, anybody who needs a lung. You should see the commercial that I made for it. We shot that thing in 15 minutes or less. And you're going to laugh your ass off. When you see that thing, you're going to go, wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I'll definitely check it out.
Yeah, you got to check it out.
And if you haven't seen Bas Rutten show, Inside MMA, it's on HDNet. You got to check it out. Follow him on Twitter. It's Bas Rutten, MMA, Rutten, MMA on Twitter. And thank you very much for coming in here,
You're
Bas.
welcome, man.
We really appreciate it. And thank you to the Fleshlight for sponsoring the podcast. If you go to joerogan.net and input, click the link and input the code name Rogan. That's the butthole version. I don't recommend you jumping right in on it. It's like your 13 millimeter. You don't start off at the 1 millimeter.
No. You don't want to get used to the.
You don't want to start off at the butthole Fleshlight. Yeah. But thank you very much, and we'll be back next week. This weekend, I got to go to Australia for the UFC. Anything else you want to plug? Anything?
Godspeed, party on, and a little tiny screen. If you're going, it's for exercises. You can literally sit here and just do it. I do it in my car right now. I go.
The Bas Rutten O2 trainer. Bas, you're a fucking legend. Thank you very much for coming on the show. I really appreciate it, man. It's been a blast. All right.
Awesome.
We'll see you bitches next week, for sure.
Okie dokie. Got a lot of stories.
Holla at your boy.
Man, I had to pee for so long. I'm going to do it now!
Excuse me, the men's room is occupied.
And now for your hosts, Bas Rutten and Jeremy St. Ives.
Hey, what up, man? Hey, good to see you. Good to see you. All right. Hey, everybody. My name is Bas Rutten.
And I'm
And welcome to the men's room.
Yeah, where men can hang out.
Okay, now, tonight in the men's room, we're going to get personal. On this show, we're going to be discussing a lot of aspects of health, especially how to endanger the health of others with others. Did you? Not me. Others. Now, we've got relationship advice, like how to avoid bruising the face. We're going to take some calls, advising women how to deal with their men. But that's pretty easy, right? I mean, it's just the thing that you need to do is a kick to the groin right there. And when your body connects with the reproductive organs of another man, let me tell you, buddy, it's pain and beauty. Also, we have a special, and we call that special the cubicle, the copier, and stabbing a coworker in the eye with a little pencil. Like this. Look at the blood, look at the blood, look at the blood. This is going to be
Rogan
an unbelievable show.
experience.
And I'm gonna be disgusting.